And we're live. Another Austro Thomism Roundtable. We got Belkov, we got Andrew, and we got Contra Gentiles. Grant, how you doing?
My table is square. Is that all right?
No, you gotta get your table.
Okay, well, we'll be back
right now. Yeah, we'll wait. We'll wait.
Wait, what do you mean this table is square? How's that a problem?
You just said it's the
okay.
Let me forget I said that.
My English intuition still needs work. That's fine.
Yeah.
Not my first language.
So we have something we're going to read off here, but we're going to wait for Jeremy to start before we read it.
Yeah, he's scurrying around in the studio finishing up his
fine.
stuff. So.
How much do you know of Rousseau, Grant?
Not a ton firsthand. Why?
No, because this is a direct quote from Rousseau. It's from Mariton's Free Reformers, where he's tying a... You know, if you think Luther is arrogant, this quote from Rousseau, which we read last time, kind of blew us away.
Yeah,
like we're still reeling from it. I'm still reeling from it, at least. I don't know about the other two.
Oh my god,
it was insane.
You got to give him like a backstory on Rousseau first.
Well, I know of Rousseau and I know why Rousseau matters. I just haven't read Rousseau.
What matters is not exactly what he wrote. It's his life here that matters. This quote exactly. You know, abandoned 5 children, was criminally insane, accused David Hume of trying to kill him like 10 different times.
Wait, really?
Yeah. I mean, really crazy stuff. Like I'm pretty sure he tried to get Hume arrested while Hume was sheltering him in England in his own home. And all of Hume's friends, including Adam Smith, that Adam Smith, were like, dude, get this guy the fuck out of here. And Hume was like, no, I have to help him.
So Rousseau was like the problem guy?
Yes, very
much so.
That's
to say the very least.
He was the messy problem friend.
He was like let me tell you, this dude was like really fucked in the head, like as a kid. Like he was abandoned by his parents, and basically he was an orphan. And so so like the way he coped with it was just by really, really loving himself and building up his ego. I mean, just like breathtaking levels of egotism. Like until you like read, like you got to listen to that last episode that we just did, like just after this. And
it's basically just me reading with like a few minutes of interjection.
Well, you have a nice voice. It's good.
It's a little audio. It's a little audiobook.
Good.
We're trying to cover a lot of Mariton over here. You know, Mariton and Eric von Kadutladen. Those are the 2 guys we cover the most.
Yeah.
I'm texting Jeremy again.
Get over here.
Did you die?
He certainly has a Carioca sense of time. Carioca being someone from Rio.
Yeah.
We arrived 30 minutes late, and that's on time.
He's literally Peruvian, so.
Well, yeah, I guess it spreads to all of South America. Yeah, it's worse in some places, better in others. Bahia, which is our northern states, even worse than us.
Yeah. Anyway, we're here.
So, excuse me. But so
rip Jeremy's Twitter. Someone said in the comments.
Good.
I actually took a copy of one of his quotes from that tirade.
You actually need to send me that because I made the mistake of he got suspended once before for attacking some other people, and I had the foresight to screenshot all of it.
Yeah, I didn't screenshot it. I literally just like copied it down and put it in my phone's notes.
The copy pastas.
Yeah, I can just read it out if YouTube won't completely destroy us.
Go for it, man. We
can redact
quote. Yeah. Okay, buddy, and you're a retarded faggot who can't ever formulate proper arguments. Your beliefs are stupid, and you definitely have shown why. You truly don't matter. Have fun being a retarded loser, you pathetic piece of shit. I didn't get the one where he told Repeal to end himself.
Yeah.
I didn't get that one. I got this one because that was just the funniest one.
I don't always debate anarchists, but when I do,
I'm making that meme tonight. Yeah. No, I had a bunch of Austro Thomism memes on metaphysics a couple days ago. I had a bunch of people commenting, "Oh, you discover a new word?" Without just to like only unstart the head back. Like, "Oh, you find out about a new word called metaphysics?" I'm like,
hell yeah.
Yes, I'm better than you now. I know one more word.
Yeah, this is what I knew would happen if you figured out how to use Twitter. I tried to keep him off of it for a long time. Tried to dissuade him until it didn't matter.
You try to shelter him from the world, but they grow up so quick.
Trying to shelter him from himself. And what do?
You're trying to shelter the world from him.
Yes. Yeah. They don't need totally unredacted Jeremy.
We need to get him on Truth. He needs to go on Truth Social and just tweet at Donald Trump.
I know. Should be on Telegram or something.
I should be on Truth Social just to follow Donald Trump. I can't believe I'm not doing that right now.
Isn't Bird on Truth Social?
Oh, yeah.
He was, I believe so. I mean, I remember in one of the TLE episodes, he said, his account was still being made or something, but he certainly signed up for it.
I think he got on. I think he got on it.
Yeah, I also think he got on. I hope he got on. I should exclusively use Truth Social. I should never use Twitter again.
I think when we were at the Trump rally, he plugged Truth Social like 6 times or something. It was beautiful, and he's like, in Truth Social. You should all go sign up right now.
Did what's his name, Mike Lindell? Is that the My Pillow guy? Did he plug Truth Social at any point?
I don't know if he did. I don't have a memory of that, so I don't think he did.
Unfortunate.
Damn.
Wish he had a Twitter account. Well, actually, no. He's probably been, he probably hasn't been suspended, right?
Yeah,
he was suspended.
Yeah.
He's too good. I'm saying Trump, when he wins again, VP should be Mike Lindell.
Oh, I know. Trump Mike Lindell ticket would be spectacular,
awesome.
Especially after being in the room and seeing how much command Lindell had.
No, and they're both like incredibly successful businessmen. They understand each other a lot better than Trump and some other career politicians. Mm-hmm. Like, that's just the way it is. I don't see how that could possibly be different.
I need him to go debate like Pete Buttigieg when he becomes the VP ticket.
Oof.
I mean,
that's Mike Lindell and Pete Buttigieg.
It's gonna be hilarious.
Butter Pete and the My Pillow guy.
Yeah. Listen. I go to take his hand. Or what does he say? Like, no, my monkeypox, and just walks away. It'd be awesome.
I don't debate monkeypox havers.
Exactly.
Did he actually get monkeypox? Is that really something?
No. Okay. Wouldn't it be funny? That'd be funny.
They would never.
They give him monkeypox as like a PSA thing.
No. We're gonna give a straight guy monkeypox as PSA. We're gonna hire a straight guy to get monkeypox as like a
They give Biden monkeypox. See, no,
after COVID, after like his 5th bout of COVID or whatever it is, whatever number we're at.
He's tested positive for monkeypox.
That's how we're gonna get Kamala. He's gonna be indisposed. The VP.
They give it to both of them. They give it to like 5 people.
Yeah, the recent lightning strike at the White House gave everyone their monkeypox. We don't know how it happened. Really, wrath of God.
There's nothing going on. No event was attended wherein they all contracted monkeypox.
What was it? That Madison Carlson. Is he the guy in the woods there? There's some like
He was the one who like did a dick thing to his cousin or something.
Yeah, he's also the one he said like 2 weeks before, like he said he got invited to a bunch of like elite sex parties and people in Congress.
Yeah,
and I'm like, he's in a weird sale.
That's part of it. That's one of the things. It's a kink party.
That's so weird.
Like, ooh, his legs don't work.
He can't run. Take his wheelchair away from me. He can't run. What's he gonna do? Crawl out?
I would love nothing more than to see all the people who go to those get monkeypox and like walk into like Congress shuts down because they all get monkeypox. It'd be incredible.
Hell yeah.
I mean, when it starts spreading amongst Congress, we're gonna know who the faggots are.
I think someone said we should actually just we shouldn't discourage monkeypox. We just stay quiet and then we'll know who the real closet cases are. Very easily.
Lindsey Graham, who saw that coming?
He's fancy. He's a fancy dude.
Man, Graham is so weird to me. I don't know. He's very weird. I don't like him.
I can't ever remember what his face looks like.
I can remember what his voice looks like perfectly.
It looks a lot like melted butter. It has a very melted butter look to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. He's still
all right,
here.
so
it's fine. Just talk about whatever you're going to talk about. He'll join later.
Yeah, I'll do the Russo quote later. Okay, so what do we want to talk about, gentlemen? Because I have no idea.
Oh, he does look like melted butter.
Yeah, he does.
Let me actually see.
He looks like a woman. He looks like a woman wearing a man's face as a skin mask. Is what he looks like.
Yeah, especially in the lips.
Oh man, he does. Oh.
Yeah.
It looks like a smile.
face
that's not
stretched
a
over
smile.
another
That's
face.
a grimace.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Oof. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, his face has too much mass to be one face. It's like one stretched over another.
Looks like a bad mask on.
Because he's not fat. He's not like a huge guy.
He's not like JP Putzko. Hold on.
No, his face is just huge.
Are you referring to that Trump tweet? Or am I insane? Look ugly with nipples protruding, JP Pritzker.
Disrespectful.
It's very disrespectful. My favorite tweet of his is still the Coca-Cola is not happy with me. That's okay. I'll still keep drinking that garbage.
I've never seen a skinny person drink a Diet Coke or whatever.
the most relatable Trump tweets ever. Also very true.
Oh yeah.
Every time I can say, no more soda, no more Coke. McDonald's, the Coke said it's like $1. But not like $1.50 because of the inflation. But still, I can't go like more than 4 days without a Coke. Gotta get one.
Dang.
Really, man?
Yeah.
I haven't had a soda with sugar in it for years.
I can go for like easily months just drinking milk, water, and tea.
I thought you were saying milk water.
No.
It's like, what are they doing down in Brazil?
God, no. What? What
are you doing down in Brazil drinking milk water?
Where would I get what would be milk water? Because there's like almond milk.
Watered down milk. Pretty much it. Yeah.
Is it that like a real thing?
They sell milk as a water mixer.
Were you for real?
No.
Oh, okay.
You're one of, you're
I don't know. I thought it might be a weird American.
You're one of those, aren't you? You're one of those gullible people. I can tell you whatever I want.
Sometimes, yeah.
Hey, Bulge, I had a question. So I heard that Brazilian politics is kind of like a mixture of like Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones. Is that true?
Yeah. Kind of, yeah. It's more true in certain time periods than others, but yeah, it's always true. Pretty much.
I'm kind of wanting to see that come here. Should I? Is it as good as it sounds?
I mean, it's certainly a lot more entertaining, and I think I was listening to a few Contra Gentiles episodes, and Jeremy mentioned this, but like people in South America are just very honest about the level of corruption here.
Oh, yeah.
Americans seem to kind of want to deny, and it's like, no, there is no South American I've ever talked to who says, no, that guy's an honest politician. It's like it's always relative. He's like, yeah, of course he's like embezzling the funds that he hired this contractor to build a bridge, but at least he built the bridge.
Yeah.
It's like he built the shit. Yeah, so what? He gets like 5% of what he paid the company. Like, who cares? He built the fucking bridge and it works.
It reminds me of like when Italy, they were trying to cancel like on social media trying to cancel Italy for having so many mafia bribes in their politics.
Mm-hmm.
And they came out like, no, this is a coach was saying. My grandfather gave I give the mayor a fist. My grandfather gave the mayor a bail a fist. Well, my kids will give the mayor a bail a fist. This is how it works here. They're just like coachly defended bribing partisans.
Because I heard like like in the last election, or maybe one of the last few elections, like one of the candidates, who was the opponent of Bolsonaro was actually like campaigning from prison, where he'd been convicted. He'd been convicted, not accused, like convicted of crime.
In house arrest, yeah. And then like some very weird political stuff happens, and now he's free, and now he's campaigning against Bolsonaro again, and he might win. He's like he's like the pretty much open communist guy.
Yeah, because I was thinking like he's basically campaigning from like house arrest, so he's basically Joe Biden.
But he's been president for 8 years before Lula, by the way. And
really?
He's also the openly communist guy. He's also like the completely neo-lib shill guy at the same time. Because he talks a very good communist game, but when he was president for 8 years, he was the complete globo homo neo-lib guy.
Ew.
Yeah.
Really ew.
Yeah. Pretty much.
What was he arrested for exactly?
Oh man,
corruption.
Like 2 years ago, basically. But he set up like this corruption system in Brazil exactly, and it was found out by because they arrested this one guy who was part of the network in in a car wash because he was doing something with a car wash, and this just started a whole string of things because he revealed information about this guy who revealed information about this guy, and 50 arrests were made on politicians, something crazy like that. Probably one of the biggest anti-corruption scandals in any country by the amount of dollars involved. It was it's something to the tune of several dozens of billions over over a decade or more. I'd actually need to look into it again. But man, I was impressed. Both by the people who caught them and just the sheer scale of it.
Tens of billions. I mean, that's ambitious for a country the size of Brazil.
Hell yeah.
I mean, we're a fairly large economy because we're a large country. Per capita, we're not that good. But when you just factor in the size of the country, 5th largest landmass in the world, it's pretty damn big. You can get a lot more money than you think.
No, I can see it.
Jeremy's here, but not switching his camera.
I think I heard him settle down.
Yeah, he's still not.
So you think Bolsonaro's not going to do well, or?
I'm mixed. I'm not sure. I really hope he does. I'm on Team Bolsonaro.
Cool.
But I'm not so sure because I don't have my ear to the ground. I'm really not paying attention when I should, or at least if I wanted to know, which I kind of do.
I mean, speaking of neoliberalism and global homo, how much does I mean that there's cycles in politics of left, right, and it looks like here in America we're entering a right wing end of the cycle, and we're exiting a very left wing we've been in since 2005 ish, and does in the Anglosphere it usually follows along these cycles. I was wondering, does it have the same thing in the you guys are a little more Portuguese, you're not like Anglo, but is it, does it follow any sort of cycle, and where do you think Brazil is on that cycle?
Kind of. It's usually let's see, Bolsonaro is definitely a more rightward push because PT, which is the Workers' Party, had been in power for basically 16 years because after Lula it was Dilma for about 7 years, and then her vice president, which was from another party, because we have 35 political parties. We don't have just the two, and it's a big mess. And so Bolsonaro is definitely more a right-wing push. If Bolsonaro gains power, then I'd say, and he doesn't immediately become unpopular because of some catastrophe that happens or whatever, then I'd say we'd have entered a right-wing cycle. But you've got to remember, our republic is made in the 1980s. It's made in the 1980s. Because before that we had it's a dictatorship technically, a military junta. We didn't have just one dictator. It was a cycle. So not really any of them had a cult of personality. And then we had a republic before that, and then before that another dictatorship, and then a republic before that, and then before that another dictatorship, and then before that, monarchy, a republic and a monarchy.
Republics always end in dictatorship. I mean, that's how the game is set up.
And two of the different dictatorships were by the same guy. He became a dictator, and then there was a republic, and then he's actually no, I'm in power. And then it became a republic, and then he became president for 8 years, and then a few years later, he killed himself or whatever.
Now we got everybody here.
I actually do think he killed himself. I don't.
We do have everyone here. Jeremy has to say a hi because he came in here. He wasn't switching the camera, and then he punched his Topo Chico, and then Topo Chico got all over the table, so he had to leave again and then clean it up. And now we're here.
Yeah, he's president. Okay. Boca, if you would you read the quote we had prepared?
Wait. We need to set up what he's listening to as well.
Yeah.
Because Grant knows. But can Jeremy hear us?
Oh, yeah, I could hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So how much do you know of Rousseau and his life, Jeremy?
His personal life, I actually don't know too much. The only thing I really know about him is Emile. And
what is Emile?
One of his major works. A lot of people.
His treatise on the education of children, which is very ironic. Incredibly ironic.
He wrote that after
5 of them.
He wrote Emile after abandoning the third one.
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah. And that's pretty my extent of Rousseau, and I've never really found Emile impressive or interesting, and so.
I mean, he is a case example of why the church has, is right to teach that we need to, just ban divorce secularly. Why we need to ban child abandonment, like that needs to be like I don't know about like putting them in jail for that, but like public lashings is would be appropriate. If you're a father, you abandon your kid, you probably need like 40 lashes.
They'll tattoo a penis on your face.
Look,
I like that. That's ambitious.
The reason I ask is because we did a live reading of Jacques Maritain, a Catholic philosopher of the 20th century, of his book, The Three Reformers, where he talks about Luther, Descartes, and Rousseau as basically the reformers and makers of the modern world. It's relatively a short book. It's like 75 pages. The rest, the other like 60 are just his notes. So just his annotations and footnotes. But it's very interesting because he condemns them in the strongest language possible, but it basically is, for the most part, a psychological analysis of what these people are. So we had read the Luther and Descartes part, and then we got to the Rousseau part, and we didn't think anyone could top Luther in terms of arrogance. We were like, okay, this is, no one can top this guy. But then we found this quote from the Confessions, and allow me to read. Quote, it's one paragraph long, so just hang on. Quote, let the trumpet of the last judgment sound when it will. I shall come to appear before the sovereign judge with this book, the Confessions, in my hand. I shall say boldly, this is what I have done, what I thought, what I was. I have told with equal candor good and ill, have shown myself just as I was, contemptible and vile when I was so, good and generous and sublime when I was so. I have revealed my heart as it was in your eyes, eternal being. Gather round me the countless multitude of my fellow creatures. Let them hear my confessions. Let them lament my infamies. Let them blush for my meanness. Let each of them in his turn disclose his heart at the foot of your throne with the same sincerity, and then let but one of them say, if he dare, I was better than that man. Which is an insane quote.
Like, imagine a guy who says that unironically. If anybody was better than me. Like, after this guy's like betraying his best friend, trying to get him arrested, and abandoning.
Did you know that he was like trying to get Hume arrested when he was staying with him and stuff?
No,
did you say that he thought Hume was trying to kill him?
Yeah, he was fully convinced that Hume was plotting to kill him.
Hume is a Scotsman, isn't he? I wouldn't trust a son of a bitch either.
Trying to kill you.
I mean, even Adam Smith, who was Hume's best friend, was telling him, Hume, cut the shit out. Just get this guy out of your house. He's gonna get a knife and kill you one day. And Hume was like, no, I have to help him. He says he's persecuted in France. He wasn't really.
No. He should have been.
Should have been. But he wasn't really, and eventually he left of his own accord. But he did he basically was telling everyone he could that Hume was poisoning his food, trying to kill him, like gaslighting him.
It's not surprising for some reason. I could believe that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Maritain later went on and said that Rousseau and Rousseau are both basically prophets. Like he called them both.
In this sense, yeah. I actually have the quote here. Yeah. Let us say that, because he's using basically, so I'll just read the full quote. So the ancients agreed that certain men are gifted with the faculty of natural prophecy, in this sense that they are disposed to receive and perceive in their soul the influences of higher cosmic agents. Let us say that such men are prophets of the spirit of the world, prophets of below, who concentrate in their heart the influences which work in the deeps of wounded humanity during a whole epoch. They then proclaim the age which is to follow them, and at the same time discharge on the future with prodigious strength those influences which have found their unity in them. In this sense, Luther and Rousseau do seem to be prophets. Have they the intellectual conviction, spiritual illumination, the example of a heroic personality? No. is what Maritain says.
Yeah.
Maritain is fantastic.
I definitely do agree with the idea that there are prophets. I think I've spoken with that at length with many Protestants, is that, just I guess in the general sense that we mean prophets, we don't necessarily, I mean, the Old Testament prophets aren't the only prophecies that has ever existed. I mean, there's many prophecies from a variety of people, but there is a belief inherently that one has to say that they have a certain special message, or I guess a certain special connection with God, that they're kind of unfolding and unveiling to the rest of the people. And so once you begin to follow that, you are following a prophecy and a prophet. And so, yeah, I could definitely see that. And I do think Rousseau is very influential in that way. So I don't think that's an insane statement either. Because like for example, my wife was getting her master's in education in Belgium as well, while I was doing my master's and my PhD coursework in Belgium. And all the education departments always use Emile as a model first and foremost. And from that model, they have different theories. So when you look at most contemporary education theories, they're all derived from Emile. They're all derived from Rousseau. It is as if he spoke truth, and then from there you could unpack the truth in different varieties of ways. And so whenever you see these more contemporary forms of education, like what is that one called, where you don't have a teacher, like Montessori, when you have all of them, they're all derivatives of Rousseauian thoughts and ideas, which is interesting, but yeah,
and unfortunate, but yes.
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
Pretty much all social contract theory is, or any like that I've seen other people do, because I didn't really study that, or am not studying that in university, that I've seen of other friends of mine do, is basically just Rousseau. Like they have to read Rousseau's Social Contract and then comment on it, maybe compare with other texts, but really the foundation is an exegesis basically of Rousseau's Social Contract and what he means by this.
Yes, so like his text is taken nearly biblically in many academic circles, and it's bizarre because I honestly don't know why. Like beyond the fantasy that he kind of presents as being nearly beautiful, because it's all fantastical. Anybody that has ever dealt with kids, I have a shit ton of kids, and so like I know the way kids are. Their kids don't thirst for knowledge.
No, they don't.
Right? They thirst for video games.
I have not been around a single one of your children and thought any of them thirsted.
No,
for
they
knowledge.
don't.
Yeah, they want fantasy.
They do, right? Exactly. They like cartoons, or they like whatever. They like to exert their power. They're like little shitheads sometimes.
The little mafia boss running and headbutting me in the gut and kicking me in the crotch. Like she thirsts for knowledge.
Yeah.
She just wants to know things.
And so all these like theories that they present, whether it's political theory or academic theories or whatever, it's all presented with this fundamental notion that human beings are always thirsty for the good. In a way, you could say that scholastics will say ultimately they are. Right?
Well, all things tend towards the good. Right. They are. But
yes.
That doesn't mean.
But it doesn't mean therefore necessarily that these individual people, especially children, have the good in mind. And if you just left them without any authority, they're just going to gravitate towards knowledge, towards beauty, and towards everything. It's like that. No, they need to be guided.
Well, they'll beat each other to death.
They will, because we have appetites
over like cookies or something.
Or something ridiculous. Yeah. So especially if you have a bunch of women. I mean, I have 5 girls in a row. You put 5 girls in a room and you walk away without parenting. One of them will end up the only one alive.
Right? Yes.
The other ways will be enslaved and or killed. It's just the way that we're because
enslaved by their sister.
They're insane. And if you're a bunch of boys, so me, I grew up with 2 older brothers. When my parents were like gone shopping, we just ended up kicking each other's asses.
Yeah.
If we're playing like FIFA on Super Nintendo back then it was, but we're playing FIFA and then my brother beats me, so I punch him in the arm because I get pissed. Then he punches me back and then we kind of wrestle a little bit, and it's just like that. That's what happens.
Thirsting for knowledge.
Yes.
So like with Rousseau, it's like he's almost like fantastical in his in how he reads. And very utopian.
Yeah, he created a noble savage myth, which is basically this, but applied to children.
Yes.
You know, or the opposite, or vice versa. I should say vis applied to adults.
Yeah.
Which is what he fancied himself at a certain point when I think Mahitan says, you know, the madness took over and he just lived in his dreams. Where he's like, I'm not virtuous. He would say, I'm not virtuous, but I am the good itself.
Yeah, Maritain also called him like Descartes' angel acting like a beast.
Yeah, Rousseau's man is Descartes' angel acting like a beast. So
that's beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, Maritain is fantastic. When he writes, it's accurate. It's all get out, and then also it's beautiful. Like I was what's the book?
I gotta read that.
Who is
that?
It's
the free reformers. There's like PDF online.
Okay.
And his big book is Degrees of Knowledge, which is his epistemology book,
which is in scholastic epistemology.
So when was he around? Like when did he write those? Was it 60s, 70s, or
20s? I think
early before that. I think he died in the 70s, right?
He looks like a less well-fed Heidegger.
Oh, okay.
In his old age,
he died in 1973.
As a young man.
Okay, so probably in the 20s and 30s.
Yeah, I thought it was 20s.
Yeah, he died in 73, so probably before then. I believe Free Reformers was written in the 50s or published in the 50s.
Right. Yeah.
But by Descartes' angel, because he compares Descartes' anthropology to how Aquinas describes angels. That is, the doctrine of clear and distinct ideas is something that is true, but true of angels, because they grasp, because all of the knowledge of the cosmos or whatever they can grasp is in them already. They don't have sensory abilities, which they use to perceive the world. They just have it in them already, and then they know the world through that. So that's why he ties it back, because the Descartes chapter is before this. Rousseau is the last part. So that's why he ties it back with Descartes' angel acting like a beast.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Beautiful. I love that. Yeah. Now I really want to read him. I probably will just download that book if they have it digital.
Yeah, and it's only, I think, if you literally just search up Jacques Maritain, Free Reformers, PDF.
Jacques Maritain.
I will let you read
Jacques Maritain
much better Jacques.
Yeah.
In Degrees of Knowledge, he spends like 5 pages basically writing a poem about the beauty of metaphysics before actually engaging in metaphysics and epistemology. It's a lot of fun to read.
Very French.
Yeah. Awesome.
He's also there's an interview with Joe Biden when he was asked who was his favorite like Catholic like Cinco, and he said Jacques Maritain.
Oh, really?
Like he clearly hasn't read him.
Clearly not. But Jacques Maritain was apparently influential in like some like Geneva Convention rights UN stuff, and he's like popular in like some liberal circles, and so they reference him as like their guy, and I'm like,
because he apparently like
he's not your guy.
He's not really their guy, especially if you just read this book. But he, I think he even says like executioners are necessary in the social order.
Oh, that's amazing!
Hell yeah,
it should be.
I think he says like, look, the order of charity of supernatural grace perfects this order where executioners are necessary, which is the political order. But you're not going to get rid of the political order. You need it. So, basically as a rebut to Rousseau's utopian dreams.
Yeah.
But
I mean, there are some people who are just meant to be slaves, and that we just have to accept that. I mean, again, I'm all for owning the libs.
Yeah. And I even will push as far as what Plato says, where I think the majority of people just need to be enslaved. It's just the way that they're kind of built. Like you could have a hierarchy of slaves, right? I think there's more ones that have very, very limited capacity of knowledge at all. But overall, most people, this is why I think most people want to be employed, is because they want to be under some kind of authority. And because if that wasn't the case, I think we would just have like nations full of entrepreneurs with no employees. It's like that's not going to exist, because that kind of that sense of authority that you gain through entrepreneurship is I think very limited to a certain group of people. But the majority of them just really they need to, and that's why in Belgium, for example, they have very low anxiety due to professions than compared to the US.
I think almost everywhere does, except for East Asia.
Right. Yeah. Because they basically have tracking systems. By the age of 12, they really kind of know what they're going to do in their career. They could invest their time into it, since the universities are essentially paid through the taxation. You just have to. The one thing I do like about that is that they pay more attention to your ability to know things rather than how much you could pay them. And so I think in American universities, the downside is that it's more like a customer an employee
It's not a
relationship.
student-master relationship. It's
It
an
isn't,
employee-customer.
Yeah,
That's what I discovered when I went to Canada. It's very much that, at least
It
for
is, yeah.
foreign students.
Canada? Why are you in Canada?
Yeah, I was studying in Canada before, partly because I have family there, partly because they were highly ranked in the area I wanted to study for, especially for employment afterwards. And then I decided to just go to like the equivalent of the best university for my area in Brazil, and I decided to just do that.
Yeah, and it's really is better that way, because it was the same thing. Like KU Leuven is equivalent like to the Ivy League schools, but in Belgium and in many parts of Western Europe. And I just preferred it more because when you go there, it has you. I mean, you pay 900 euros.
Yeah,
you're not making anybody rich with your investment in there, right?
Yeah.
And so the teachers have no problem just failing you. And so like you actually have to be really good in order to excel. If you're not, it's like they don't care whether you come from a lineage. Like there's one guy who was the child, the son of a Supreme Court justice here in the U.S. And he was in the same program as me, and he failed out because he got
because he's a dummy.
He got a 15 out of 20. The grade system there is a 20 scale. There's that university has been there since the 1400s.
Yeah.
Not one person's ever got a 20 out of 20.
Yeah.
Okay. There's only been, I think they said 2 people that got a 19 out of 20. And like a certain number that got 18, and I'm one of them that actually got 18 out of 20 there. And so
you're such a genius.
So getting those kind of grades is mostly, it's all due to your work, like how much time you put into it, whether you've done sufficient research, and whether you're good at whatever topic that you're kind of discussing. When you go to school here in the U.S., everything is transactional. And so the way that the students do it, it's like they kind of add up their points. And they're like, I did this assignment, this one, which means I should get an A.
Yes.
And it's ridiculous. Over there, there's no assignments.
Yeah.
You have one paper, normally either one or 2 papers. You have a midterm and a final paper, or you have a final exam. Yes, and it's just like, and so if you fail that final exam, which is your entire grade, you're fucked. And for them, failing is getting a 15 out of 20, which is equivalent like to a B- or a C+. Boom, you're out. You're out of the master's program at that point. And so
I would have loved that. I hated
some of my classes are like that, some are not. Some are more transactional, though the teachers have a less transactional attitude. But some, like I think my history class so far have been really good, where they just have like 2 essays. These are the texts. We're going to talk about the text. In class, you can just interrupt me in my lecture and we'll talk about it. We'll just discuss. And, here are my slides. Here are my notes. And then you're going to write an essay on this, and this text. And the next essay is going to be on this, and this text. Do it well or you're fucked.
Yeah.
And it's really good. It was lovely. I loved that class.
Oh, me too. Yeah. I loved studying over there for that reason. Then we had, some of them had oral exams. So the oral exam, you have to like wait outside, and then they bring you in. And then they would ask you certain questions, and you don't know what the fuck they're going to ask you. It could be anything from the entire semester, but it's normally like essential questions, like the basic, the fundamental ideas of whatever they taught. And then you're supposed to have a conversation with them and expand on the ideas. And so it was actually really, really intense and really, really good. And what benefited me was the difference. So when I did my first master's is back in 2005, and I was still a kid then. I was like 22. That terrified me. I was like, fuck. I have to go in front of these people and just do this. I didn't do too well there. But then when I came back in 2014, since I had so many years of sales, so many years of other professions, that no longer was terrifying. I was like, I'm just going to go in there and discuss. Sometimes there's a panel of 3 professors, and then we just talked about it there, and then you're just much more confident. They appreciate it. But those kinds of life skills that it teaches you, I think is phenomenal. It's a better measurement of your knowledge, rather than asking you an obscure fill in the bubble question that, what hat was the mouse wearing? It's like, fuck you, it's like
so much.
Oh, me too. Yes. Yeah.
Oh my. Oh, I talked to a mathematician and a computer scientist who's just a troll on Twitter. I've talked to him about this, where he decided that, I'm going to do a few questions of this. And what he'd found out, it's basically the skill is cut out all the bullshit, all the noise, find out what they're asking you. It's actually this very simple stuff, and then do it. You're not actually being tested on your knowledge. You're being tested on, can you cut out the bullshit and find out what they actually are asking from you?
Yeah.
Funny enough, speaking of education, I looked it up. Zach Martin also wrote a book on education. Education. He wrote like 80 books. Education at the Crossroads, a critique of American educational system.
He's just like me.
That's amazing.
Yeah, there's a book on like Orange Scholasticism is one of his best books, I think. It's he has so many books, and
he has a very funny approach though, which Grant and Jeremy will probably like, because he kind of just assumes you understand the basics of scholastic metaphysics. His book Approaches to God is a very short book. It's like 100 pages, and there's in the middle he discusses Aquinas' 5 ways, and before that he has a phenomenological intuitionist way to God about the intuition of being, and there is something higher than you underlying all of reality, and then he talks about other ways after the Aquinas, but he kind of just assumes you understand metaphysics when he gets into Aquinas. He's like, by the way, final causes, and then he doesn't explain what final causes are. And I read it before I read Phaser's Scholastic Metaphysics. I understood some of it, and then I read Phaser's Scholastic Metaphysics. Like, this makes sense now. It sounds insane.
He proves God was a graph.
This is a graph.
I love that.
This is actually a really good representation of the the order. What is it? The proof of change. What's it called?
Yeah, well, I was about to ask about the problem of change.
The problem of change.
Yeah.
Can you explain that?
Well, I was going to explain the graph, but I guess Jeremy and Grant would be way better at the problem.
Yeah, I was going to ask Jeremy if he could explain that.
So the problem of change is pretty interesting, and so that is how do you account for the phenomena of your relation with change and the rationale behind it, and that's really where it stems from. Because so when they say problem, they mean like a mathematical problem, not so much they have an issue with change, and so it's that they. That essentially we all experience this process of change, but that change in a way makes no real sense, because when something changes, it ceases to be what it was prior to its change. And so when you move an object like from this point to this point, it necessarily entails that it is no longer in this point. And so it encompasses this idea of not that is incomprehensible, because not refers to nothing. And so when something is nothing, how can you comprehend the state of nothingness when nothing is only understood in association of something? And so when you say that there is nothing there, are you really saying is that it is a privated reality? It is lacking something. And so with the ancient Greeks, the issue was how do you synthesize this? Right? How can you comprehend the reality of change when it really always brings about an incomprehensible idea of nothingness? And so that the two main figures that I think many history of philosophers kind of look at is Heraclitus and Parmenides' solution. And so Heraclitus' solution is that, well, there is no constant state of being that moves from point A to point B. There's only change and flux, and that any kind of universals in a way is fantastical. It's only fabricated by the mind, when in reality there is never one substance that moves through time. And then the Parmenides' solution is to say that particularities and change and flux is an illusion, and there's only oneness of being, there's a totality, and so there are only universals and there are no particulars. And I think what I find interesting about this problem of change is that I think it becomes formulated in a variety of different ways, even throughout history, right? And especially what you see after the collapse of scholastic and Aristotelian ideas and the rise of the more modern ones. That's essentially what the debate ended up happening. Because once you have this dualistic view of reality, particularly universals that don't really have any relation to one another, you have to say that one of them is manifestly more real while the other one is relatively more illusory. And even in contemporary physics, we run into this problem, right? And so when you have the understanding that we exist in this world that is multiplicity and change, that it has all this potencies that can be actualized, we come up with theories of multiverse, for example, that encompasses every possibility, every probability for the potential states of electrons, in order to posit that this one world in which we exists. And so it's similar to that we kind of encountering now, is that we have this phenomena of change and particularities, and yet we also comprehend that it is still the same substance as moving through time, even though it has nothingness always entailed with it. It's as if it is always coming in and out of existence. And so when you talk to many physicists, this is what they say about the placements of electrons, is that it comes in and out of existence constantly. And that what is it that then begins to actualize that, right? Some of them say it's the observer. And so the observer then actualizes its placement, which makes the observer God in this way. And so this is the same kind of issues, except formulated differently, that I think Parmenides, Heraclitus, and the ancients were attempting to tackle. And it didn't really become resolute until Aristotle. And so Plato was a precursor to its resolution, but it still wasn't fully there because of the third man problem that you have with the world of forms. And so what Aristotle did was he wanted to take a step back and essentially say, well, maybe our comprehension of change is what's flawed here, is that change really isn't the derivation of non-being to being or from being to non-being. Rather, change is the actualization of potential that already exists in the object that's existing. And so that's why the doctrine of act and potency, actualization of potentiality, was so important throughout after Aristotle through the medieval period until you really see the rejection of it in the 1600s. Because that really resolved that problem. That resolved the problem of that change. That's why for my doctoral thesis, that was my main argument. It was that the reason why we have incongruity in our understanding of the fundamental principles of reality right now is because we want to deny the principle of active potency. I honestly think that the solution for lining up quantum mechanics as well as the theory of relativity is to posit that there is pure act in which actualizes its states of reality rather than positing an infinite amount of universes. And once you do that, you do really solve this problem of change. You solve this problem of particulars and universals. And I think that's it's something that when you reject Aristotle always creeps back up, and you can't really escape it because you become either dualistic or nominalistic.
So why was it rejected? I mean, was that the nominalism that
I'd say it was ignored historically after the 16th century, right? I believe that's Phaser's allegation.
But it also was deliberately rejected. If you read someone like Martin Luther deliberately rejected.
It was a result of banning Catholic metaphysics.
Yes, because that's true. Most of that was Christianized, but he hated Aristotle. I mean, Martin Luther was no fan of Aristotle or the ancient Greeks. He claimed that the papists were essentially being pagans by reading these people, and that we ought not to encounter with them.
I think he said if he didn't know better, he'd say the devil put Aristotle there to fuck us over, basically.
Yeah.
Something to that effect.
Yeah,
sounds like how he'd word it.
Yeah. How does this problem of change kind of like prove the existence of God? Because I remember you guys were talking about that in one episode.
Yeah, and so it leads up to it, because once you understand the solution, and I think Aristotle's solution is the most proper, then you function within a world that you don't have to posit other things besides the world that exists. Right. There is no thinghood to potential anymore now, or the thinghood to constant flux and change, nor do you have to reject a particular world and just say, the Parmenides oneness, that almost goes back to like the not go back, but I think that like Parmenides' solution is displayed a lot with Hindu thought. It's like everything is Brahman, and that we're all simply a part of Brahman, and that's essentially what Parmenides' solution was. But Aristotle's solution was truly unique because it wasn't nominalistic per se, nor was it dualistic per se. That it solved it by saying that both are real, that the universals and particulars are real, that change is real and constancy is real. And how do we go about that? Is that you have to bring in a third principle, and the third principle is potential reality. And so rather than just looking at being and non-being, the way the quantum mechanics kind of look at it right now, is that you bring in potential reality, and potential reality exists in whatever is in an actual state of being. And so that's why things can't just be anything. And so the reason why it cannot be anything, because, for example, this, can be potentially completely blue. And the way that we do that is because there's certain properties that it contains in which I could spray paint it or I could do whatever, right? We could get into the details, but we don't really have to for the example. The same thing that like this can potentially be an object to be a weapon. Right now it's an option for drinking, but if I break certain things off and I put the tip, I could stab somebody in the neck. Now I made a potential, but it has to exist in its reality in order to be potentially a weapon. And so bringing in potential reality is what completely changed the outlook of this problem. That now we can coherently comprehend that this reality is real. This is not illusory. Now Parmenides is wrong. This is not illusion. And then constancy and transcendentals or universals are real because there is something actually in existence right now that it is partaking. And so once you could kind of begin with the axiom after that, you could begin with the axiom that this world is real and that the things that happen in this world are actually happening. That I don't have to pull out the illusion card anymore.
So how would you differentiate potentiality from non-being?
Because potentiality is, but it's not actual in that it could be.
Yeah, because potentiality, again, requires an object that's already existing for it to be potentially something.
Okay.
Yeah, like it again, it isn't that it could be potentially anything. It's always contextual to the thing existing.
Okay. It's grounded in some form of actuality.
Okay. It's contingent reality.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And that principle, because even for Newtonian physics, it's helpful to have like potential energy. It's this idea of potentiality is a very strong one, and I think it's just an accurate one. You see something, yes, it can be potentially other things. That's why we could alter it, we could change it, and that when you're changing it, you're not eradicating it, more so that you are actualizing something already in it. And so when this object moves from point A to point B, it isn't so much that it went from being to non-being back to being. Rather, there's already existing properties in this object and in the space in which it exists that it can flow potentially to the other side. And so you're not abolishing its existence. Rather, you're actualizing something already contained in
its
this
placement
object.
isn't an essential quality.
Yeah. And so that's what but there are essential properties for act and potency, and that's the one that leads to God, actually. Yeah. And so when you have these accidental changes, its explanations are always material. There's always something in reality that is actualizing this change that's already in a state of actuality. And so if this moves from point A to point B, in this particular example, it doesn't necessitate my hand, but what you're seeing right now necessitates my hand in order for it to move. So I'm moving from here to there because my hand is something already in a state of actuality. And then you could say what causes that is the firing of the neurons to the hand and so on and so forth. Many of those things are accidental series of changes. But then we also can notice that there are essential series of changes. And this part is what's more important, because for Aquinas, he says that it's a matter of faith that we believe that the world had a beginning. He believed rationally you cannot deduce or induce the beginning of the universe. That at time t or time x there was the Big Bang that created. He would say, well, that's something unknowable. That's always going to be a matter of faith. But what he says that the thing that is knowable, because all those things are accidental series of changes, right? Whether there's a Big Bang or whether there's a collision of whatever that expands the universe. Those are accidental. They're not necessary for it to function. It just so happens that is the way that it happened. But there are essential things to make something what it is. And so, like the study of chemistry does essential series of changes. Rather, for example, what is it that makes water? You would say it's H2O, right? The hydrogen atoms and the oxygen atoms. Formulated in a certain way that puts that structure. And then you ask yourself, well, what is holding those atoms together? Well, then you say the subatomic particles. Okay, what is holding the subatomic particles together? Those are necessary series of changes, necessary series of act and potency. And it is only from that kind of observation where you necessitate for you to say, well, fundamentally, when you break something down to its pure potent state, or the way Aristotle says is prime matter. When you break it down and try to observe prime matter, what you observe is nothing in the end, is emptiness. And ultimately, what is that's holding all of that together is a pure state of act. And a pure state of act that has no potency is what allows any of these things to be held together at all. And so fundamentally, what Aquinas then concludes is that this pure act, or actus purus, is what we call God. This is what we define as Deus, the first principle, because that is something that can't be rationalized. That's something that we can know, that there is a pure state of act that allows anything to be at all. And so all things are partaken at it at all times. It isn't a temporal argument the way Paley's argument. It is a here and now hierarchical structural argument. And I think that that's a much more powerful argument in the end, because what else would it be? Would it just be an infinite amount of potentialities? I mean, that could be a conclusion, but the reason why that becomes absurd is because then there's no beginning to that. And then you're positing, again, something eternal without saying what that eternality is.
You're kicking the can down the road, basically.
You are,
not
yes.
solving the problem, you're just pushing it further down.
Yeah.
So why is it then that the Eastern Orthodox, they reject actus purus? Are they just misunderstanding time or something?
Some of them reject natural theology.
Is the think it's just arrogant to think you can know that at all?
Most do.
From what I've heard, yes. Not all. I think like there's a few philosophers like Richard Swinburne, but they don't accept scholastic metaphysics. They accept, more analytic, because Swinburne was an analytical philosopher who converted to orthodoxy in the 90s from Anglicanism. But
how is scholasticism not analytical?
It's not analytical in the sense that by analytical I mean the historical school of like 19th century to 20th century, especially English, predominantly English school of thought of analysis of language and concepts. Not that there is an analytical skills used in scholastic philosophy. So his metaphysics are different. It's even though there is natural theology there, it's not scholastic. So most of them, even when they accept natural theology, don't accept scholastic metaphysics for one reason or another, usually because they don't want to be Catholic.
That's like the only fundamental reason.
I mean, I have no clue why, because I've heard Swinburne's conversion story. He was a Church of England guy, and then he was very dissatisfied with the 90s because they were basically rejecting the need to follow certain doctrines of the church. So instead of doing the natural thing and becoming a Catholic, he converted to Orthodoxy. And I never understood that. He just says like, yeah, that was the natural step. Orthodoxy, of course, as an Englishman. I would naturally convert to
go to the fucking
like, wait, what? You're skipping a step here. Surely there's a more suited church somewhere for you.
It's that stubbornness in the end.
Never underestimate the Anglos' ability to hate Catholics.
What's even that like their argument for God must have some potential in him, and or something that's unrealized. I don't even understand like what that argument is.
I think they say you can't know. You can only deduce or make theology from scripture that is revealed truth, because the revealed truth is revealed from the source that can know, namely God himself.
This is the typical answer I get when I talk to Orthodoxy. If you don't get it, you can't get it. And that's when they stop talking to me.
All right.
If you don't know, you can't know. Do the work yourself. I'm like,
I would say if you can't explain it, you don't know it either.
Probably the case. Probably the case.
Dang.
Yeah.
Recently, I watched a video of two Calvinist Protestants. What's his name? James White, and I always forget the other guy's names. I'm not gonna look it up because he's an idiot. He's an idiot. But they did a video on called Doubting Thomists, when they were apparently complaining about. There are a bunch of Reformed Protestant Thomists now.
I know a guy on Twitter.
I'm kind of shocked by that, and they're normally the evangelical type. They're not even
they're Thomists, but they're like Protestants.
But they're not even like the traditional Protestants. They're the crazy evangelical ones. The ones that have no order, no like structure, no hierarchy, no what is the other thing? They don't have any liturgy. It's just
they just read.
Yes, but
Thomas, however they want, or
kind of, but a lot of them are reading it pretty well. Like when you actually talk to them, they're actually comprehending it, and I don't know.
Yeah, this guy on Twitter is actume pretty good if you talk to him about Thomism. And I was like, oh, he's a Catholic then, but no, he's a Reformed Catholic, and I have no idea who it is. Let me see. I don't remember his name right now.
Yeah,
I'll probably he'll pop up on my timeline at some point. I'll send you who it is if you're curious. But I don't remember his name off the top of my head. Actually, I might remember like a portion of it. Let me see.
A portion of it?
Yeah, a portion of his username, and then I'm certain.
Is it Doug Wilson?
Doug Wilson was the name of the other Protestant guy. I was thinking. Yeah.
Oh, was
Doug
it?
Wilson. Yeah. James White and Doug Wilson, doubting Thomas.
Yeah, Philip Gahida is his name.
Philip what?
Send you Philip Gahida. Gahida like Jacques Derrida, the French philosopher.
Do you guys do that? Do Brazilians do that where they pronounce names in the source language for like 1 second and then go back to speaking English?
No, that's just me because I've learned.
You watched a lot.
I had to learn Spanish. I had to learn a bit of Spanish. I had to learn a bit of French.
Okay.
I think academics do it.
You watched a lot of like Jeopardy and Alex Trebek growing up.
I have no idea what that is. I did watch a lot of British game shows from like the ages of 10 to 15.
You are the weakest.
I do think that Americans are kind of unique and getting annoyed at that. Because like living in Belgium, like that was just common.
No, I know.
Is that when you go to the store, it was called brico, and so people were like bricolage, like for the construction worker, or like they would say it. You say, Deleuze and Guattari, and that's just the way that.
But they're also Belgians,
right? But even if they weren't like Spaniards, I had a Spanish teacher who did the same thing. But
it's odd. It's just
odd but for some reason, it is very unique to the American culture that we despise. The Americans despise when somebody tries to pronounce it in the proper way. While for I
do think it's phonetically silly to do that.
Yes,
but
it's just what I naturally do. I can't.
No, I'm not saying you're an idiot for it. I just thought.
I know you're not saying
that. Because I know I tend to do that too with a lot of words.
Yeah, but you say a lot of things weird, so I don't comment on all of them.
So I'm trying to find it, but there was a part of the video talking about where they attack divine simplicity. And I was going to play it.
What?
And, they attack the two Protestants, and they attack divine simplicity.
God is a dude.
How do you hold to the Trinity that there is one God? How do you hold to the idea that there is one God if you attack simplicity?
I don't. Well, I'm gonna.
They just
find it and play
they put
it
three heads on a muscular
because we're
body.
not understanding.
It's like an old bearded guy.
Yes,
Jesus, and then like a
bird head,
a guy with like a sheet ghost mask.
I should draw the Protestant triune God. That would be a good imagery.
And Martin Luther is his prophet.
Yes, Luther is his prophet. Just a muscular guy with three heads. That would be beautiful.
They might like that.
I know. I might do it for them.
Almost kind of Hindu.
Oh, and then the Bible floating above.
Oh yeah, and the word gender.
Yes.
This is
a leather-bound copy of the KJV.
Yes, just floating above.
This is a genuine question because in Brazil, it's obviously not an English-speaking country, so even our evangelicals are not usually that fascinated with a KGV or KJV. Is it GJ? KJ. Okay, fine. King James.
King James.
They're usually not fast. Does anyone know historically why the hell the King James became the Bible of choice by all the heretics?
I don't know, actually. Do you know why?
It was the first non-Catholic English translation of the Bible,
and it just stuck. And it just
because it's for their language. That's the original one. That is the Dewey Reams was like 30 years before or something.
Yeah, but why would it be better?
Because it's the first one.
It's because it's because it's missing certain books.
It wasn't originally. I don't think.
Yeah, you're right. The very first.
No, but it's because it's the first one. It's the oldest one in the language that they can read.
Is that their version of reading the original Aramaic and Greek?
Yeah. But it's written in their native tongue, which they also require.
Yeah, and for them, Christianity did start 1500s. So
I don't understand why Protestants would be like, oh, okay, we're sola scriptura. Okay, let's get the most accurate translation of the Bible possible.
No, I just told you it's the first one that wasn't Catholic. It's the first one that wasn't Catholic and also in their native language. Yeah.
I was wondering, is the proliferation of English at all what's affecting the rise in Protestantism in the third world? Because I'm starting to think like that might be it. Like if English is really spreading to the
where is it spreading? Where's Protestantism? I would think of like
you're seeing it on the rise in Central and South
America. It is,
South America. It is kind of.
I'm wondering if English has to do with that.
I think it's English and the fact that they have a lot of music and lights.
Yeah, it's mostly the music and lights. And
South Americans love music and lights.
We love. We do. It's
That's I think the biggest like church building, the Temple of Solomon in São Paulo, is possibly the biggest church ever built, and it's ginormous, and it's basically a mega church, and it looks incredibly silly.
It's a bunch of Brazilians are like salsa dancing.
I mean, basically, it'd be samba, wouldn't be salsa, but
feeling each other up in salsa dancing.
Oh yeah,
for
the
God.
Beautiful women over there, of course. Yeah,
like strobe lights going.
But yeah,
I've seen that before. Not the dancing, but
the strobe lights.
Yeah, the strobe lights in a American megachurch. It's creepy. You walk in, there's like a concert.
That's what strobe lights and dry ice and stuff.
I was raised in a megachurch with strobe lights and a smoke machine.
I didn't believe megachurches
it was so weird.
I thought it was just like a very weird Brazil, because we don't really have, it isn't really strobe lights. It's more like the extremely charismatic like types that get up on the podium or stage, and it's usually like, you know, if it's a richer church, it will at least kind of attempt to ape the aesthetics of not the aesthetics of Catholicism exactly, but at least the aesthetics of like an old temple or something like that. If it's a poorer one, then, you know, it'll just be like folding chairs.
An old temple.
Yeah. See,
Look up Temple of Solomon, São Paulo.
São Paulo.
Is it Solomon? Brazil, or just Brazil? And
Temple
just go to
of what?
Solomon. I don't know how to pronounce it in English.
Yeah.
Solomon in Portuguese.
Solomon.
Yeah, Temple of Solomon, Brazil. Look up and you'll see it. That's kind of what it looks like. It's very, very weird. It's incredibly kitschy. It's like what a child would imagine an ancient temple would look like.
Yes, I got it. I think I got it. I'm going to share the screen real quick for it.
Okay.
It looks like a hotel in Las Vegas.
It does. It does. It does. It looks exactly like that. You got the aesthetics down right.
The palm trees and everything.
Wow.
The red carpet.
It's like understanding how big this is.
Weird.
Yeah, look at that image. Look at the size of this thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And this is a like evangelical Protestant temple.
There's literally a red carpet.
They do actually copy our name, because I believe it belongs to the Universal Church, which is just another way of saying Catholic. So they copied our name as well.
That is like a nice concert hall.
Wow.
Yeah. It is.
But yeah, I didn't believe it existed outside of like because at the risk of sounding you know, like a Marxist doing class analysis, it's not usually the intellectuals who convert to evangelicalism in Brazil.
Right, yeah. Definitely
it's not the smarter people who are religious are just Catholic.
Yes,
there's no reason to be Catholic. And even Brazil's a very weird country, because we do love two saints specifically. We do love Mary, much like the Mexicans, if I remember correctly. And we do love Saint Francis an inordinate amount. Like, I think even the evangelicals love Saint Francis. Like, even they're like, no, Francis is a saint, of course. Like, there's no way around this.
The South America in general, I think, is that way. Argentina, Peru.
So even they have this weird love for Saint Augustine in Rio, as well as a relatively strong presence, because we have a school run by Augustinians, which is one of our more prestigious schools. So there's an Augustinian order, but none of their recruits are Brazilians. All the Brazilians go to the Benedictine and the Franciscan. All the recruits. All their priests are from Spanish-speaking countries, so they have this So when I go to mass there, they have this incredibly strong Spanish accent, which is usually very, very thick. I think I couldn't understand any of the words.
You just mean they speak Spanish correctly?
I got a photo of the inside of the place.
Okay, let me see this.
What looks like a. That looks like a dystopian.
Oh my god! It looks like.
Oh my god!
It's like if they.
It is a bit dystopian.
It's like if they had like a state chamber in Blade Runner or something.
Yes, exactly.
This is where.
This is what a church would look like in Blade Runner.
Yes,
literally.
Blade Runner is a dystopian world.
Wow.
One thing I noticed that my part of Megachurch, I went to for Father's Day recently. Whenever about Father's Day was, I could not find one cross in the entire building, outside or inside. Not one.
Really?
I mean, I don't see any crosses there either.
Yeah, I saw nothing. I remember I was asking people around earlier afterwards. You know, I'm an asshole, so I was like, "Where's Mary? Where's the cross?" I was asking all these questions.
Where's Mary?
What about genuflect? I was asking all these questions. They're like,
what about genuflect?
Like, what's
they have They have a booth that's like covered with like frosted glass.
Yeah.
The private genuflection.
It's just called the giving booth.
Ew, what's genuflection?
And finally, like, oh, those are our symbols. We're not a symbol church. She had a Starbucks cup in her hand because the church sells Starbucks there. And so the logo was facing me. Yes.
The one
this logo was facing me.
Imagine you go there just to get the Starbucks because it's the closest one near you. That probably happened to at least one guy.
Like, we're gonna give him coffee, give him the Lord after.
That would be hilarious.
Frappuccinos for Jesus.
Just walk in there and be like, amen, hallelujah. Where's my coffee? The one in Rabbit Creek has something like that. It isn't, I don't think it's
like
Starbucks.
That Super South?
No, it isn't. Yeah, it's called like Rabbit Creek Community Church, or it's a small one, but it has like a Starbucks style coffee shop in it.
Oh, I actually know someone that you worked there or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Church,
yeah. My old business partner, that's where he attended. He was like a drummer there. That's where I saw like the neon.
He's a drummer there too. I know. I happen to know a drummer for that church who.
Also, really?
Yeah, that's really random.
What's his name? Do you remember or no?
He's like 20.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's probably not the drummer there anymore, but back then he was.
Well, he's not the drummer because I know the drummer.
2009.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty. Yeah, it was pretty weird because it really was like a concert. One time I had to wait for him. We had to go to a business meeting afterwards. He was like, yeah, but I already committed to play. I was like, fine. I was just kind of standing there in the back. And so this is the part that I found really weird. So there was a pastor preaching there. Mm-hmm. And then when he said something like, I guess people find profound, the guitarist in the back was like, right? A little bit. Yes. And then he was saying it a little louder, but and then like the drums like boom, boom, boom. And then I was like, what the fuck is this? It was so well timed.
They should do rim shot.
Yeah. I've never been to a Protestant church, so I live through Jeremy's. So I live vicariously through Jeremy explaining his interactions inside a Protestant church.
It's the wildest thing. It was the most wild thing I've ever experienced for it to be called a church. I was like, this is just weird.
Yeah, the worship leaders. Quotation mark worship leaders that are part of church are like the douchebag of douchebags. They're god awful. Well, like it's how they start the worship leaders and stuff like that. The people who play the drums, musicians, and sing.
Oh,
I went to like youth group there, and there's like the youth pastor was also like the main singer. And everything he did on stage, he was like on his knees. He was like screaming into the mic. He was like crying on stage. And I'm like, what is this? And you would see women just falling over and like it looked like an Elvis concert. They'd fall over the stage.
And like, some guys like windmilling on a guitar.
We had a keytar. We had a legit keytar.
Yeah.
It was
cool.
But not for a church.
Hancock action.
Yeah.
The pastor actually got him and played the keytar. I'm not making that up.
It's like that Justin Bieber pastor guy. Like when people
Justin Bieber pastor guy?
What?
Yeah, do you remember him?
No,
you don't. Look him up. Look up Justin Bieber's pastor.
Sentence.
Oh, with the tattoos and stuff.
Yeah. He didn't have long hair. He was short, but he was just like really ripped. He would just walk around shirtless. And then it came out that he was having an affair. And I was like, you guys are shocked by this. I mean, look at that guy. I mean, of course he's fucking like every member in the fucking in the church. The way he's like, the way he presents himself. Yeah, he like low-rise jeans, so you kind of see like that.
Yeah. What is it? Joe Rogan calls it the dick root.
Yeah, the dick root. I mean, this guy has like made. Look at his like made.
No, I can't believe it. This is a pastor.
It's a pastor. Yeah,
you could lift him up by his V.
You should have this guy in Firefly representing.
I know. It's like yes, the one affair that they caught him in definitely was not his first.
They caught him in one.
Yeah, like now he's like a disgraced pastor. But I was like,
really?
Yeah. He's
hell yeah.
He had to leave his church. He had to do everything. I was like, yeah, it's obvious. When I first saw him, I was like, he's fucking. You're up there on stage, women swooning over you. There's music playing. You walk around shirtless around California. Yes, you're fucking women.
The thing I'm shocked about is like he had to leave for just an affair. That's it.
I know.
I know.
I know.
He didn't like embezzle money from the church. He wasn't like there wasn't like a minor involved or
he's an upstanding gentleman. This is a member of the community. This is a pillar of the community.
I know. People should wonder and be like, I would have done it too, Pastor. I would have done it too.
They're all like high-fiving.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, it's been. I think I was We were a Pentecostal church, so everyone was speaking in tongues all the time. No snakes. No snakes. We were Pentecostal, and they would all speak in tongues. And I don't actually believe any of them were authentic.
But no snakes. I still can't figure out where the snake church is.
Yeah, it was some Pentecostals are snakes. There's a snake church out there.
I know that there's
probably
a
bunch of snake churches in South America and Brazil. There's probably a few.
Yeah. And they would get there, and I swear to God, they're just speaking gibberish. They're just making up words, but the thing was like
literally speaking in tongues. Yeah.
Yes, and it was just like everyone's like, remember, they're like, Caleb, how old are you? Like, I'm 21. Like, you don't have a prayer language? I'm like,
no. A prayer language?
And that was they would judge you for not having a prayer language.
Okay, quick question: insane. What is a Pentecostal? Like, what is it?
That's insane. That's what they are.
Okay, but like, I have
Pentecost is like the end times, isn't it?
I think it's I think they claim that when the Holy Spirit came, when the Spirit came into the room and everyone had the tongues of fire, that's Pentecost, and then they emulate that in the services.
I don't know.
The Holy Spirit came down on the apostles after.
I don't read. I don't read books. I don't know.
Yeah, very Catholic. You basically just need to go for RCIA. You've got the rest down pat.
I don't read.
Yeah, the Seventh-day Adventists are the ones that are like really anti-Catholic. So if you're coming from there, you basically have to go Orthodoxy. You can't possibly go Catholic. And yeah, they're the ones who are all like end times, and they're
the denim skirt ones, right? I think they're the denim skirt ones, or the Seventh-day Adventists.
I think there's a few of those.
There's a couple Seventh-day Adventist churches near where I live. You'd think they were Amish, but they're not.
Pentecost is literally the Catholic Church's birthday.
How ironic. Yes, it's true. Actually, you're correct.
Happy birthday, church.
We had our 1992nd birthday 2 months ago, something like that. Or at least that's held to tradition.
That was so funny. As someone that listened to the show a long time ago, they sent us they sent me a 1517 to 2017 mug that their parents had, and it was 500-year anniversary of faith or something. It was like a Martin Luther mug. So Jeremy designed a mug he wanted to sell that was 0 to 2021. It was like a birthday, like a church birthday mug. 2021 years of faith or something.
That'd be amazing.
I'd buy it.
I know.
It's kind of insane thinking about it. But we'll be able to live, to see the 2,000-year anniversary of the death of Christ. That's to me. That's I don't know. That kind of hit me a few days ago. That's kind of an impressive milestone for a church to be that long in existence.
I know
that a church wasn't even a thing before. You had cults and mystery sects. But I think reading Chesterton's Everlasting Man, he highlights this difference. There wasn't really a church, and there wasn't really anyone who made the claims of the Catholic Church. That there were not only Confucius and Buddha never made the claim that they were literally God or the sons of God. Maybe their followers, added them to a mythology, but a mythology and being religious about a mythology is not the same as a church. And the fact that Westerners just conceive of it as normal is kind of a testament to its success, that religion must follow a church. You see it in all our fantasy and sci-fi fiction and alternate worlds, where the religion is kind of a church. That's really an impressive achievement to just make this the default for how religion is conceived when it wasn't for the vast majority of human history before that point.
Well, it is for all the history that matters.
Yes, exactly. I think there was one historian who, one of my favorite history accounts on Twitter, Columba, just said, that history really began in 0 AD. Everything before that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I don't care. People are talking about the Stone Age anthropology and stuff.
Who cares? It's literally who cares? It's the tale of a bunch of ape savages. Who gives a shit? Real history starts after year 0.
I mean, Egypt is kind of cool, but
whatever.
Egypt was 2,000 years before, but maybe that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even that, I don't really care that much, but.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that clip I was talking about earlier was the 2 Calvinists going against divine simplicity. If y'all want to hear it, and
definitely.
Say on the screen here. And
God is a dude
with 3 heads.
He's got very complex.
I would draw him the way that Bieber's pastor looks, but
divine emotional complexity.
So the problem was what is the gazing with is they say.
Is that a beard on his face?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
That's James White. Have you never seen James White before?
Apparently
he's one of the more popular Protestant theologians.
I don't know him.
What is he? How does he shave that?
He has a professional panache.
Yeah. So what this thing is that they say Thomists believe in divine simplicity, but not really. They believe in absolute divine simplicity, and they are questioning that. I don't know. So we'll go into engage this.
Christians do misunderstand, thinking that the Son is 1/3 of God and the Spirit is 1/3 of God, and so on and so forth. And so that I think most people can understand and can see that this is not just simply a situation of the church outside of Scripture saying you need to believe this. This comes from first order level understanding of what the Scripture teaches about God, the harmony of his attributes, things like that.
Right.
So most of us would go, fine, no problem.
Yeah.
But what is now being emphasized, especially in my circles since about 2015, maybe a little bit earlier than that, but really starting to get ahead of steam, is the assertion, and this is discussed by people like Turretin. Calvin wasn't big on it, but Turretin and the more Reformed scholastic of the second, third generations, they do discuss these things, obviously, is the assertion that the attributes of God in God, ad intra is the Latin phrase, that the attributes of God are one and are to be not to be distinguished. That God does not distinguish internally between his wrath and his love, or his justice and his love, I guess is a better term.
Okay.
Maybe you want to pause it and comment. Just let me know.
Or between omniscience.
His justice is his love.
The funniest thing to me about it is they keep doing really fast cuts to the other guy's face, and he goes like, "Yeah."
He's like, "Huh?" He has this this what look on his face,
he's
what?
His beard is very distracting.
Yes,
we should dress up as these guys.
Yes.
I was thinking you should do like a 2-minute parody of like.
I really wanted
long 1 minute rant and then just cut to.
Yeah, I want to do parodies at some point.
I know we've been wanting to do parodies for about a year.
Dude, you're gonna look
stored up.
Can can either of y'all see Grant in a sweater vest? I don't know.
I think he put it off.
I used to wear it all the time. Yeah, he was a
Did you really?
dickhead in high school. Yeah.
I was gonna wear mine tonight, and I'm like, if I'm gonna play this video, I'm not gonna dress like them.
Yeah,
I can do it.
You put like a big bunch of cotton balls on your chin.
yes,
I would have
exclusively on your chin.
I hate Calvin. I hate
I hate Calvin too.
Yeah, James. I hate James White so much. I want to tweet at him like, James White. I'm gonna tweet him at James White. How do you feel that your role on this earth is to be dumb so people can see you convert to Catholicism? Let's tweet that. He's trying to go after Catholics. His arguments are asinine, but let's continue.
Okay, yeah, we should.
Love is his justice,
and his love is his omniscience, and his love is his omnipresence. The things that make these things even understandable, and for me, one of the important parts, these attributes interact with each other. One of the most beautiful things of seeing the cross is recognizing you're seeing the love of God and the holiness of God at the exact same time.
Right.
But if they're the same attribute, then we can't understand what's going on there. Mm-hmm. So internally to God, we are told we must believe that these attributes are all one. And here's the reason. Now, by the way, add extra outside of God, they're different. And we are to distinguish between them. And in fact, we glorify God by distinguishing them. But God doesn't glorify. Right. God isn't glorified by that internally, is basically what's being said.
Right.
And so here's the problem. When you think about what is being said about the attributes being the same, I can say easily all the attributes are harmonious. Yeah. They are not parts. But what's being forced on us is
we don't stack them up.
Exactly.
Right.
But what's being forced on us is a metaphysical assumption that comes from Thomas, and part of it comes from before Thomas to somebody else named Aristotle. Right. And the idea is, and some people may have heard of this idea before, and this is how I explained it to you, was when we think about the ontological argument, which is an argument I don't like to think about very often because I only have so much Bible with me while I'm traveling.
Fair enough, I guess.
that feeling when no metaphysics. But...
We're such assholes.
I don't like to think about it.
We're laughing at heretics.
It keeps me up.
It's not my favorite argument either, James, I guess. I prefer the 5 ways. I don't know.
Sort of react to YouTube channel. That'll be for the Patreon. We'll have a react video.
Yeah, I want to keep going though. It seems pretty interesting.
But if you've thought about the argument itself, an essence of it is the being greater than which none can be conceived. The idea of thinking of something in that metaphysical system means that it actually exists. That category becomes concrete in an argument type sense.
If I successfully conceived of it, then it is that way.
And it can be put into the argument as a valid element of the argument. So if I can conceive of God's attributes, then they become separate parts, which then becomes a denial of God's simplicity.
Right.
So I am not to conceive of God's attributes internally to him as having any difference from one another, or I am making him a composite being and denying the doctrine of simplicity.
Now, what would the response be if I said, well, I conceive of the Father and the Son and the Spirit as different?
That is the primary argument that they want to push back against and respond to. They've written entire books on it. Thomas liked to write books, just like Thomas did. So they sort of, like father, like children. It sort of goes together. And in that instance, you get into extremely complicated discussions about how subsistences are not the same as attributes would be if they had this kind of reality.
Distinction.
So there's always a way to make a philosophical distinction between, one aspect or another. But I'll leave it to the Thomists to explain exactly how they deal with that, because it does have applications to other things. Once you have this idea of simplicity, not just what you and I would agree, that God's being is not composed of different parts. Once you have the further assertion of the ad intra sameness, then that starts having impact in other areas. And one of the areas that I'm most concerned about is in Trinitarian theology and in the relationship of the divine persons.
Right. Because even if you say, well, Father, Son, and Spirit are distinct subsistences to be sharply distinguished from attributes,
right?
Even if you do that, and then you have complicated math, which is like a June bug doing quantum physics. Look at us go describing the internal workings of God. So
and at some point, somebody goes, "Do you think Paul really intended this? Do you think this is really?" You really have to start asking. This is a question we didn't discuss this before, but this is a question I have.
Really
How?
No problem.
So, one question I have that he just brought up, and I think I asked Grant a very long time ago, but it hasn't really been discussed at length anymore. So, Caleb, you said you were pretty much raised Protestant.
Yep.
What I'm curious, why is Paul held higher than any other apostles to Protestants? That's something I don't understand, because I've heard many times Protestants say that, it's just what Paul intended, and I wonder why. Like, do you know why?
So, my understanding of it is it's two things. One, I think they say, I don't know. They say Paul wrote the most parts of the Bible. Like, he wrote the most about the.
Yeah, that's what I would guess. He wrote a lot of epistles.
He wrote the most. So he was the
he
was the main conduit between the Word of God to the actual Bible. He was the main conduit for it. So he was the main guy. And there's also the argument they have called the Paul parody argument, where they basically take all the arguments the Catholic makes from biblical examples of Peter being the Pope, saying, well, I can make the same argument about Paul being the Pope. And they use the example when Paul approached Peter about the disagreement they had on the letter to the, I think it was the Corinthians. And they use that example to say, no, see, Paul corrected Peter, meaning Paul was actually the first Pope. And they try to mock the argument, saying Paul was like the actual leader of the apostles.
Oh, okay. Okay, so they kind of almost do take him as being an authority, like almost similar to what would constitute as a pope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
They have one pope and he's long dead, and they're fine with that, I guess.
Yeah. That's interesting, actually. That actually answers my question, because it's been years since I've been wondering why. But yeah.
The Pauline parody argument is actually it's interesting, because This is so many parts I was artist biblical based, which is why I'm a material sufficiency guy.
Yeah.
But anytime I can go play with just the Bible over partum, I'll take it. And so it requires so much study of the Bible, and the Protestants just rattle off verses like it's, well, here's a verse out of context. Prove me wrong now.
Yes, yeah.
I'll continue the video. If you guys
they
want.
look very ill to me. No,
Yeah.
It's like
White looks like a cancer patient.
they need to supplement.
Well, they're in Moscow right now. So
I think it has to be the way they white balanced it, but they
I think they need to read Bronze Age mindset. I think they need to. I think
No, it's like
people who really need it.
They should have like IV bags next to their chairs.
Yeah.
Oh man, if you take Visazil, you haven't seen Swinburne recently. Oh boy.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I
Does he
mentioned him
look like
before.
he's
He's an
receiving-
Orthodox.
Does he look like he's receiving chemotherapy?
He looks bad.
Okay.
He looks really bad in his latest interview. He
All
looks
I'm
like
good at is
he's
making fun of people. Like Jeremy
about
has
to
like,
hit the grave.
has like 2 masters and a doctorate in metaphysics. I'm just good at bitching. So I have to.
Is he about to like say, what the Catholics are doing wrong is they really need to be making a distinction between the essence and the energies? Is that what he's about to argue?
yeah,
I feel like it's going
I
on.
think- I think his argument is that I don't understand how he conceives of the Trinity, because he first said each person of the Trinity is 1/3 of God, which isn't how the Trinity is conceived,
Right, yeah.
really. But whatever.
Actually,
Trinity-
moving on.
The Trinity is a pie.
But moving on from that, he then says, okay, assuming he has the same conception of a Trinity as us for a moment, he then makes the argument that we must distinguish between God's attributes. That is, God's mercy is not his wrath is not his love is not his mercy or his justice.
That's an Orthodox argument right there.
It is
one
actually
energy is not
Orthodox.
another.
Yeah, Orthodox do want to make a strong distinction while saying that they're the same. But yeah, I guess
That's contradictory.
Yes.
What's weird to me, but I think also what's a bit strange is that I don't know how else you could conceive both of the Trinity and the incarnation of Christ if God was not altogether simple, because then there would have to be.
Then you've got a pantheon.
Yes, yeah,
Or one big guy with 3 heads.
yes, yeah, or Justin Bieber's pastor.
That's how
with
he's
3
one
heads,
God.
That's-
They all pee out the same hole.
Yeah, I guess we should continue the video. I want to see what his solution to this is.
Let's see.
Far can we go past the headlights of Scripture?
Yeah.
What?
I'm how far? Because Calvin was, when God makes an end of speaking, we need to make an end of speaking.
When Paul says, I resolve not to go beyond what is written. Right.
And Edwards, Gershner, who's a huge Edwards fan, obviously.
Wait, pause it
said-
again. Pause it really quick. So he says, Paul says, I can't go beyond what is written, and yet Paul is writing things. He's not. I mean,
He also says, if anyone tells you differently than what I've told you in person, let them be.
I mean, this again just blows my mind about Protestant. It's like, what do you think is happening here? Like he foresaw the Bible being put together, and that's what he's referring to, or is he possibly simply referring to Jewish texts?
I mean, Paul was the one that gave them the Bible.
Yeah,
Well, all of it.
And so that's such a bizarre statement. They kind of just pass it off like, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like, no, what he said right there makes no sense. You're talking about like a future self-referential author talking about how he's not going to go beyond his own text. No, it's ridiculous. It's
You know
very
what I think
meta.
it is for me? You know what I
Yeah.
think it is?
Yeah.
I think it's because his Apple Watch looks like a hospital armband. I think that's what it is. I'm looking at him like, oh, he looks like he's admitted.
I'm literally looking for the chemo entry point.
The
somewhere
port.
around the neck.
Yeah. It's under his sweater vest.
I know. I think he's passing what's his name, Doug Wilson. He lives in Moscow, so it's probably not good weather for him over there.
Was that why his beard looks like that?
I
the
guess.
fuck?
Is that
It's a-
who Doug Wilson is?
There
Yeah,
are Calvinists
Doug
in
Wilson.
Moscow?
Yeah, it's a weird thing. He's very. Doug Wilson's the weirdest Protestant. He's
Yeah.
peculiar.
Maybe that's why he sounds so Eastern Europe, like Eastern Orthodox.
It's because of the Russians.
Yeah. But anyways, okay.
I mean, the Prots actually had a pretty historical foothold in Russia when Catherine the Great came to power. She, she kind of pushed the Orthodox to the side and said, "Yeah, we're going to let all of the religions come in," and that's how Sinfonia works.
Someone just kicked your guitar or something.
I also heard a slightly musical sound.
Yeah, it sounded like someone kicked a guitar. I just got excited. I'm sorry.
But yeah, so Protestantism has historically been there since at least Catherine the Great, and and so that was their big one with Sinfonia. The government really needs to support Orthodoxy by inviting in the Jesuits and the Prots.
Was it mostly the Calvinists that went out east, or which which Protestant?
I don't know which ones did, but I know for like the Catholics, it was the Jesuits that got invited and state funded. In fact, Catherine the Great was such a good Orthodox Russian leader that she confiscated quite a few monasteries and then turned them over to the Jesuits to turn them into schools.
Good.
Edwards tried to figure out the will of Adam without having the light of Scripture and ended up in a massive contradiction. So Edwards is a brilliant guy, but once you get past the headlights of Scripture, you just have to start making it up as you're going, and that's really one of the questions we have to ask here.
Yeah. So if someone says, if you're taking your theology exam, and if you have to pass this to get out of seminary, and the last question is, what was God thinking about 10 minutes before he made the world? You need, if you drive.
He's got that Lindsey Graham face. It's like melted butter.
What was God thinking about 10 minutes? Well, God doesn't think. So that's the answer.
There wasn't time. Whatever. Even if there was time, God is outside of time. Shut up.
God was putting on his miniature golf green, thinking about it. He was using a leather-bound copy of the King James version of the Bible, hitting his golf ball.
That's
he was writing the Bible.
He's going to create like the hottest pastor, and he's going to be the pastor of Justin Bieber. That's what he was thinking.
It's like Justin Bieber's going to have a hot, ripped pastor. And
he was actually writing the last part of the Bible. He was writing Revelation. He was writing the last part of King James.
Yeah.
And putting it in the future, thinking of when a time would come for him to reveal the final word.
And then pause off to the future too, and reference his own text that he can't go beyond.
There's like so there's 3 times when God reveals himself to Protestants. It's Jesus' life and the Pauline epistles, and then there's 400 years of bullshit, and then the Bible's compiled. Okay, and then like 1500 years of bullshit, and then Luther and Calvin. And that's it.
Those are different. That Hitler guy's gonna cause me some issues. He's not gonna make Luther look very good.
Luther is not going to make Luther look very good.
Rousseau will make Luther look good.
Got it all planned out, baby.
Up on a fan.
Ask our studio audience here.
If you write down anything other than "we don't know it," it's impudent to ask.
That's exactly right.
Right. Then you fail. Right. If you say, "Well, man, let me work on that,"
you get a new revelation. That's pretty dangerous.
And I've had my
right there. Interesting how the Protestants and the Orthodox both reject kind of like logic and reason and asking questions.
Yeah, I know, right? Yes, yeah.
Interesting how that works. The moment you start asking questions about them, you're just like, oh, they don't have answers.
I asked a ton of questions at my Protestant church. Like every week I was asking the youth pastor to pastor a question. Answers I never either say I'll get back to you, and I never did, or well, we don't ask those kind of questions, and then just left. Those were like that's how they treated intellectual pursuit of anything.
Very eye-opening.
I mean,
yeah.
Okay, so but like what was God thinking when he created this? Okay, if we're speaking purely analogically, which is fine, but not taking it literally, what was God thinking when he, I'm not going to say created man, because then they can use the Bible.
What he created Hitler.
But what was he thinking when he created water? Well, he was thinking of water, you fucking dumbass. Like, I don't know. He was thinking of the properties of water. It would flow downhill. It would have the H2O. It'd be essentially this and that. Have, you know,
what was he thinking when he created water?
Like, I don't fuck, like, you dumbass.
I hate water.
Like, I don't know. But yeah.
Reinforce many times that smart people cause most of the problems in the world. They think they
elastics,
but us idiots, we're great. We know it all.
They're really
they're just not really up to it. Right. Or things that we and it's not that we're saying, oh no, we're up to it and you belong to the wrong party.
Right.
We're saying some of these things you're raising, nobody's up to. And
Thomas wasn't up to.
Right.
That's where some of them are like, he was so far beyond us that we simply have to trust that he was there. And that's where I go, look, he was brilliant. No one is sitting here saying that anybody who can write the massive amount of stuff in the time frame that he had in the day that he lived, all that's amazing. That's fine. But we also have to sit back and go, he was the quintessential definer of what became the theology of the Council of Trent.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you just have to admit that he wrote other stuff about man and our anthropology that was anything but biblical.
So going back to the
like,
what does the Bible say about trimming your beard like that?
Like, we don't hold Thomas to be infallible. Yeah. Like, that's why we have councils.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so the guys at the council read Thomas, good. They didn't immediately make all of the Summa Contra Gentiles and all of the Summa Theologia and all the Summa Contra Grecus like fucking canon.
Right.
They didn't put it in the Bible. I don't know. Like, oh wow, they read authors to supplement their own commentary and thoughts. Wow, okay, shut the fuck up. Like, you do it too, people.
And he was smart enough to be at least recognized by the church as somebody that we should at least take serious. It's like,
and he was a saint, so shut the fuck up. You're
yes, exactly.
Have you performed miracles, motherfucker? No, I don't fucking think so.
But I'm wearing a sweater vest.
Have you levitated? Has Christ come to you in a dream? Shut the fuck up. I don't care. You fucking dumbass.
I think
if you haven't levitated, I don't care about what you have to say about scripture. I'm sorry.
My barometer. It's like what my priest turns blood into God every Sunday. Why should I listen to you? That's my argument. Okay, I think that's about it. I don't think they say anything else more interesting, but
doubting Thomas.
It's an interesting video. I watched the Force saying it's
I might watch it.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I know we're ragging on them, but I think
have you noticed that what they do the thing with their face where they're really, really emphatic?
Yes, yeah.
And they're always, he's doing the like.
I know, and normally when they do that, they're referencing scripture at that point. So they're like, well, now we have to take this serious. Where does it say in the Bible that Rosie O'Donnell is going to exist?
What do we do about Rosie O'Donnell?
I mean, I can't go beyond the Bible. This is why I have to reform the church.
And like, still,
the church that Christ built, by the way, on the rock of St. Peter.
Reform, quote unquote, right?
Yeah. They're revolutionists.
Yeah, but I mean, okay. So Peter says at one point, I can't go beyond the text. I'm taking that on faith because I don't remember the.
It's from Corinthians.
It's from Corinthians. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, okay, what was the context of that? Because
it really.
Because the text doesn't say don't go beyond the text, does it? Or else why would?
It says that literally. It says don't go beyond what is written. And the what's interesting about it is that if you look into where they think it comes from, because it just seems to come out of nowhere in the text. It has no context to it that really makes it understandable. It's just like all of a sudden put in there. So what they think happened was that the someone had, kind of written like as a transcription note, it was a transcription error, where someone was writing down saying, do not go beyond what is written. So in other words, don't try to change it, don't add it, just copy it at what word for word. And then someone copied that in. And don't go, do not go beyond what is written.
Okay,
and that's how they think that got into it.
What is written in this letter to this specific situation as well.
It could be something like that. Yeah.
Well, it's like if you read in the context, it literally has no understanding at all. There's no content. It has no explanation.
What about that implies that what they mean is written is just in the Bible? Like, why can't I write something on a sticky note? That's written too.
What about all of Paul's other letters that didn't get canonized? I mean,
those were written.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What about like Clement, who was it's
almost like there were hundreds of people involved in deciding which written things were.
I know. It's almost like they picked it's almost like they picked a New Testament narrative from the perspective of the Roman pontiff, because
it's almost
that's literally like if you look at the Gospels. If you look at the Gospels, they're written from Peter's point of view. It's like, does anyone notice that like, the reason that Peter is mentioned more than all of the other apostles combined is obviously because it's being told from his point of view. And it kind of like makes sense that like the councils of Rome, Carthage, and Hippo are going to pick, 4 Gospels that are, consistent with the see of Peter that, their church was founded from. It's like they got the whole narrative handed down to them, from Peter. So they're going to pick Gospels that are basically written by Peter or his proxies, Mark.
I have never met a Protestant person who actually knew books were removed.
It's so rare.
And
then when we're talking to my mom about it, she's like, "Well, I've read this and this and this." It's like, yeah, those were like the Gospel of Thomas isn't included. That wasn't ever canon.
Yeah.
I think that's normally the only time that I ever see a Protestant's mind being blown is when you inform them that there's books that have been removed, because then they want to refer to things that Catholics don't believe, and they want to refer to the Gnostic Gospels. Like, that's not what was removed. And you tell them there's
Judas,
right.
Example.
And so when you say no, there's a book called Wisdom, they look at you like you're insane. They're like, "What?"
Or extra parts of Daniel.
First and Second Maccabees, and they're like,
"I still think Maccabees sounds dorky. I think that's just going to be built in."
Yeah,
sounds like a family of oil barons or something.
I remember having a freak out on the group chat before Jeremy was added. That I was like, I can't believe Grant didn't find a reason for this. And the closest I could find was in the King James printing. For some reason in Wikipedia, it said it was very expensive to print so many pages, so they, removed like 7 books. I'm not even joking.
They're really because I think you were kind of like incensed about it for a while, and you didn't find anything. And I kept telling you, I'm like, you're not going to find any information.
Yeah, there's no information.
I went to like Luther's whole page. I went to like Lutheran sites. I went to the Calvinist.
Well, they don't know generally.
They don't.
Like the only answer I found is that Calvin moved First and Second Maccabees because they point as evidence to purgatory, and he rejected purgatory.
Right. Yeah.
So he moved Maccabees, which is completely backwards way of looking at scripture. Like, well, I don't agree with this part. So maybe this move I don't like to make. Like,
you can't go beyond what's written. So, but some of the stuff that was written.
Go back.
I really do think the only people that have offered an explanation have been Catholics.
Yes,
because I think that they're just using inductive reasoning. They read these. It's the same thing. I think with the Book of Wisdom, it does refer to the church, the
natural theology as well,
natural theology and stuff. Yeah,
Tobit has a guardian angel.
Yeah, Tobit has a guardian angel,
and a literal physical like demon figure thing.
Right.
Yeah, Odious.
Yeah.
What's the word? He was like expunged from the room with burning of stuff, like a liver and stuff. Like a
shark's liver.
Or something.
Yeah. Witchcraft. They'll say that.
Actually, this great book coming out from Trent Horn called "When Protestants Argue Like Atheists," and that's the entire premise of the book. And
all of our shticks are being taken from us one by one.
One of the points is like atheists who look at the Bible and point to contradictions and say, "Well, this is why the Bible isn't true." And Protestants say, "No, you have to look at the context and suss it out." But they point to all the contradictions, say between Tobit and the other parts of the Bible, and say, "Well, now we can move Tobit because of that." And they act the exact same way, and so it's gonna be a really great book.
It's interesting to me. It's interesting to me that they can't understand. Like if I offer, they say, "Well, where is that in the Bible? How do you know that it's not the Bible?" It's like, well, it doesn't talk about like the best way to fry an egg. Like they don't understand the example given. It literally doesn't tell you how to best use your iPhone morally.
Right.
It literally doesn't. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It doesn't tell you what haircut you should have. It doesn't tell you what kind of bikini you should wear at the beach. You know,
it's very selective in because normally it's supposed to be coherent within the narrative of Christology or Mariology, and so it's not a cohesive book of morals.
No,
it's not a cohesive book of practice, like how you ought to practice things. It's so you're supposed to read the narrative of salvation. That's what it's there for. And but the funny, I think one of the most funny part is that for Protestants is that there are some things that is explicitly written in there, and some of them that are explicitly written as if Christ said it, right? Such as the doctrine of divorce. I mean,
call no man father.
Yes, like Jesus often, like they will pick some phrase like that, don't call no man father, but Jesus like rails against the idea of people getting divorced and say that what God has joined, no man can basically dissolve. And and yet most Protestants think, well, yeah, but in some cases it's okay, right? If he's a complete asshole, you could divorce him. It's like, no, it's kind of shocking what they want to almost extract from the scripture and take it outside of context for their belief, and then simultaneously the things that are explicitly written in there they want to deny. It's like this is one doctrine that we could really say that if you believe the gospels are true, that Jesus really does not want you to get divorced.
Yeah, he even says this is a hard doctrine. It's not for everyone. There will be eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven.
Yes,
he literally says that.
He does. Like
not for everyone. Like it's fine if you think it's hard and don't want it. That's okay. It's not for everyone, but this is how it is.
One thing I did, so I'm not only on Facebook except to troll all my Protestant friends and family. And it was like they posted already like Happy Father's Day to you, Dad. I would just comment, call no man father. Call no man father. Comment adverse. It's so.
He says, "Call no man father," and then later he says, "The atheist would say." Then he says, "Be obedient to your father and mother." But atheists would say that's a contradiction.
I listened to a bunch of former Protestant, now atheist women yesterday talk about love, sex, and Maoism yesterday. And
this was in person, right?
In person, yeah.
Okay.
At the house, and they all got drunk and started talking about their feelings. And they were talking about all the way the parents raised them and how they said, basically all we're told the whole life was that all you as a woman, what you are doing is tempting men at all times.
Yes. You guys accept me, not me.
Yeah. Well, you don't exist anyway.
Can you imagine? Like, could you guys imagine, like, if the like way back in the day, if the monophysites actually came to the council of Constantinople and said, "Well, Jesus said, call no man father, and people call him, a man all the time. Therefore, he must be just one nature. Obviously, he must not be God." Now, granted, they believed he was only God, but you could have seen like Arians who like came to the who said, well, he said call no man he would say call no man God, and look, they're calling him a man. He's a man there.
But I never thought about it that way. I'm curious if any like living Protestant actually takes it. Christ had no human nature. He wasn't born of a virgin. The beginning of every gospel is wrong. Shut the fuck up.
I like that ending. Shut the fuck up.
End yourself.
That should be the tagline of any of our arguments from now on. Yeah. When we're arguing people on Twitter, just shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. End yourself.
I was listening to all of them, and I realized that there's no. It's like when the Protestants talk about sort of the Bible was a son was a guy, so it was like Adam was the fallen man, Christ is the saving the man. You gotta conquer Adam, like rise up and be a man, kind of thing. There doesn't exist women in like Protestantism. They're stuck with Eve. Right. They're like Mariology. So they're stuck always in like this fallen. There's no story in the Bible for them about women overcoming the negative side of femininity and becoming actually feminine, becoming a woman. And they don't have that. And like seeing the effect of that on a bunch of different people was like really interesting last night.
Yeah, I think BizCat on Twitter, who's a SCOTUS, unfortunately, damn his name, but he.
Dude, that made people mad.
He commented
SCOTUS? Yeah, Jeremy's tirade against SCOTUS. Oh my God.
I recently found out that the word dunce comes from Duns Scotus, and that blew me away.
Yes, yeah.
I'm completely convinced that some Dominican Thomists were involved in that. I have no doubt.
Or just rational people.
Yeah.
But he said that he was quoting some Protestant, and he said Protestants can only oscillate between complete and utter submission to feminism or depraved misogyny because they have no Mariology. They have no concept of Mary as a sex Eve.
Yeah, and historically speaking, you don't really see misogyny until Protestantism. Like that really did not exist in the Christian world. You see it in a Muslim world as well, but there's reasons for that. The Mohammedans have their own theology that's fucked up, but you don't really see it in the West reappear until after Protestantism, and I really do think a huge role that the reason why that happens is because they have absolutely no reverence to a holy figure that is female. And so even the pagans at least had goddesses, and they had more respect and reverence to women.
They had Athena, for
Protestants
example, the goddess of wisdom.
But Protestants don't. There is nothing sacred. There is nothing that is like, I guess, part of our salvation that is feminine. It's all pure masculine, and so the feminine just seems more like getting in the way of salvation.
It's very gay.
I actually noticed that, like, because at my at my Protestant school that I went to growing up, like they actually didn't allow the women to pray in public. You know, if there was going to be a prayer said in public, it was always by a man and only a man.
Yeah, you see that, especially like with the really hard right, conservative Protestants, that they do go that way. Or what he was saying prior was that, or they are just complete feminist liberals. But they really have no like coherent
there's no way of unifying that or bringing the sides
there
together.
Isn't, because they have nothing there. It's all simply just pure masculine. There's only Jesus, and that's the only important figure for salvation. And so the women really have nothing. They have no orders for them. It's
so weird to me that they're so angry about like burqas and stuff.
Yes, I know. And yet the way that they view women,
it's more coherent with like black trash bags in the desert.
It is, yes.
All the men should be ripped in Speedos, and the women should be wearing literal black trash bags.
Yes, yeah.
I had a Protestant I was arguing with one time in person, and he said, Catholic Church is sexist. You guys are just sexist. You're just completely you don't want women to be priests, so you're sexist. Also, you worship Mary. And that was his argument. That was his argument. And I'm like, it can't be both, dude. You gotta pick one here.
It can't really be both.
It was a dumb argument.
You're sexist and you deify a female.
It was so stupid.
And you deify a female.
They really make no sense just because they can't become priests. It's like, but women have orders. They have holy orders. That the Protestants really have nothing.
Like, it's not the woman. It's not a woman can't be a father.
Yes.
Like, that's not because we're sexist. We're just stating what we believe to be an aspect of reality.
Yeah. But women have been great contributors in the church as much as the men were.
We have I think, 5 female doctors in the
church.
Yeah, we have 5. I think the head de Lisieux was a Catherine of Siena.
Catherine of Siena is one of them. Yeah.
Teresa of Lisieux was something.
Yeah.
Very
of Avila.
No, Teresa of Avila, and then Teresa of Liz something.
Right.
Like 1890s or something.
Yeah.
A little flower.
Yeah,
we've had female doctors. I'm pretty sure they were all nuns. I think I'm not sure.
Yeah,
of course.
They pretty much built.
Is there a non-priest doctor of the church?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so of course there
is. Basically, all the doctors of the church are going to be clergy of some sort.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I was curious.
They have chosen the better way, as Paul says.
Every time I've engaged a Protestant woman, every time I've engaged a Protestant woman on anything about Catholicism, she's cried. Like every time I talk to a Protestant woman about anything,
or they cry. I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What do you?
Like your mom does.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like it leads them into tears if you start.
And then they completely forget everything that was said.
This is actually something Jeremy, This is Jeremy and I have a comment. We both made our Protestant friend's mom cry. Like we both done.
I think I made her cry there. That was me.
Yeah.
That was not you.
Yeah, the proper job of a son.
Yeah.
Denounce me. It's fine.
It was like, and it wasn't even anything mean I said. Like she was saying, you guys worship the saints. You guys pray other people besides Jesus. Like, why didn't you do that? That's dumb. I said, "Oh, have you ever asked someone to donate in prayer?" It's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, why? You have Jesus. Let's pray to him." and then she just started crying. I'm like, "That wasn't even mean." That was nice.
It's never mean. I don't think I've ever made a Protestant cry that me being actually mean to them. It's always a very just light comment. It's the same thing that the way the consensualists are. It's like you just make a truth statement and then they just blow up.
They want to kill you.
Yeah, it's okay, fine, whatever, man.
Very aggressive,
faggot.
They're very emotionally attached. They're very emotionally attached to like this false worldview that they have because they've built their entire personality around it.
Right. So they think that I'm attacking
what is
them.
it you say?
You're taking their identity from them.
It's because they're losers and have nothing aside from it or something, is what you said last night.
Yeah. I mean, that's their whole identity.
Yeah. Essentially, what I'm saying is like sometimes I could sympathize with them. I could honestly empathize because it's like I remember being stuck in a dead-end job. I remember not having control over my life, that everything was controlled by the authorities outside of you. There is an allure to that ideology that kind of gives you a false sense of at least of hope for liberation. It's like I'm going to be liberated by all my masters. Yeah, I mean that is a normal masculine quality that people feel, right? And I do think that's why a lot of the hardcore anarchists and libertarians tend to be men, because I think it's just a masculine thing. You want to be freed from it, and the one thing I honestly believe is that rather than ascribing to an ideology that is fundamentally incoherent, right? That the moment that they're going to begin to claim to tell me that they're going to change the definition of monarchy to anarchy, they're going to change the definition of feudalism to anarchy, that virtually anything in which they want to appeal to is anarchy, it's like, okay, this is so obscure and incoherent that there's very little that can be. Yeah, there's very little that can be said. It is.
My favorite thing in the world is when I ask a woman why she thinks something, and she goes, "I don't know."
Yeah.
Oh my God, thank you.
That's happened so many times.
Yeah,
that's how it should be.
But I do think I do think if they want to truly feel liberated, just they need to do something. Because it's from that activity of getting outside of whatever is holding you back that you could finally actually feel what they're seeking within libertarianism, is that they could actually feel free when they begin to do things properly, find proper order in your life, and quit being a pussy. And then you could finally have that. But the moment that they keep bitching and being pussies about that they think that everything is aggression, they don't want to be aggressed with, that they could live harmoniously only if people could get away from them, the authority could get away with them. And by authority, they don't mean kings and dukes and duchesses, they really mean people that they like. Yeah, essentially. So it's their dad, their teachers, their bosses.
I actually think they have the correct intimation, at least, that dukes and duchesses are a good order,
definitely. And I do
have that intimation of some of them.
But they refuse to abandon the words they want to use.
Yes, they refuse to abandon the wrong ideas that led them to the correct.
It's just the words. Yeah. They'll redefine the words to make the right ideas. They just it's the words they like.
I'm noticing, by the way, I'm just noticing a pattern here, and I don't quite understand this pattern yet. But you guys noted earlier that they have no, like, Protestants have no Mariology, so they have no real way of unifying this kind of feminine aspect.
The feminine and how it should be.
And I've noticed that libertarians 9-to-1 men. It's like they have no way of bringing women in. And that's by the way, and that's something you see.
I also don't think that women should think about politics really ever.
Wait.
You're wrong.
Wait here, because this is what's really paradoxical and interesting. Because you're right, by the way. But here's what's really interesting about it in just liberal politics is that anytime you have a political movement that is nearly predominantly men or male, what ends up what it's they go nowhere. It's when the women come into the political movement, that is what ends up giving it some sort of social legitimacy.
What's an example of that?
Libertarianism, for one. It's they have no women in there, so they have no legitimacy.
Is that a necessary thing?
Like fascism.
I do think.
Is it because women can vote?
No, it isn't for the voting of them. I think it's because
if women
social legitimacy. No, because what it signals is that I can get pussy if I adopt this ideology, and that's where it ends up coming from. It's because why do men go into politics so they can fuck? Yeah.
Is the necessity of women agreeing with the politics of men that they don't have to think about it? It's just
it's them saying that it's the women recognizing that this ideology has power, and I'm going to like pursue the men who are going after it.
That's what I was going to say, because like the good female normally just votes whatever the husband does.
Yeah.
You don't really want her to kind of contradictory what the family vote is.
So libertarians don't have enough big dick energy for the
they don't.
Okay.
By the way, Mises, the guy who libertarians love, that was his argument against giving women the vote. He just said, because to him it's inconceivable that women would ever vote anyway that their husbands didn't. Like in his world, like in his cultural world, it's like, we're just gonna vote the way their husbands do. Why are you doing this, you dumbass? It's just like you're making it harder to count.
Just doubling the vote for no reason.
Yeah, you're just making it harder to count. Shut up.
Mises had like the best social takes. He
was way.
He called Hitler gay. He said Hitler grew up in what's it called?
I know, because I really do think Hitler was gay, but
no, he said
I know, but you know what I mean. I think he was a sodomite. I think he actually
because Hitler worked for Vidolfus, government, Vidolfus dictatorship. I remember he also did work for the German government at one point. But he said, we did this research, social research, and we found that these tenement built by the government were basically infested with gay men. And Hitler, by the way, Hitler lived in one of them for like 3 years.
Come on,
and then he ends the
hole
chapter
in Hitler's bedroom closet.
That's exactly how he ends the chapter. By the way,
Mises also claimed public schools separate kids from the family and breed sexual neurosis and degeneracy.
Oh, really?
One of his arguments. Yeah,
which is true.
I
think most intelligent people can know that, though.
Yeah, but when was he writing this?
It was, I think, I don't know where it was from exactly, but it's a great book.
If he wrote it in English, it was post 1940s. If he wrote it in German, it was before. Because after he moved to America, he actually did bother to write in English.
So I can't find, but it's a book from the Catholic guy who founded the Mises Institute, Lou Rockwell. He wrote a book called Against the Left, and it's just all about the left and why the left are evil, pretty much. And he quotes Mises, Rothbard, and Hopper. Rothbard had some great arguments against feminism.
Really?
My favorite one is when Gaither was a feminist, they often say, "You men just can't get it. That you don't understand what women are going through." And he goes, "Well, if that's true, if men just can't get it, why don't you just shut up?" But women never want to shut up. They want to keep browbeating them. You agree?
Why don't you just shut up?
His words, you had his problem, but when he was arguing against someone, he was very good at it. Like the books are phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when he doesn't go into philosophy, he's actually really good. Yeah, his cultural criticisms are really funny. His when he's talking about like polemical economics, he's a very, very good scholar in that sense. Like he'll have all the proper stuff. He's very, very good when he's not in like ethics, and when he's in ethics, he just completely fucks up. Like
so he's an economist, is what you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
What was it? In his Education Free and Composed, where he lines out the history of education in Europe, and he blames Luther and Calvin for all the problems of schooling. Because
which is insane to me, because his wife wasn't a Catholic; she was a Protestant. And like 80% of his career on history, because he's actually a pretty decent historian, is just shitting on like American Protestants. Like it's unironically like 80% of it, and saying the Catholics were correct.
I have a sniper trained off camera with his crosshairs on my forehead, and if I give the signal, he'll shoot me in the head.
What?
I've just heard Rothbard like 10 times, and I'm
I see.
I'm on the ledge.
Redacted. The Jewish
take me out. Take me out. If I give the face, just take me out.
But yeah, Mises was Mises, despite being a very unique individual.
Roth baby. Hey, Roth baby.
Rothschild.
He did kind of look like a baby.
He did. He had like
physiognomy.
Yeah.
Like a baby face. He had the wide-eyed wonder of a newborn baby every time he was photographed.
Yeah.
Jeremy's point about like the anarchist physiognomy is I can't stop saying it.
Yeah.
No, of course their ideology has to revolve around their consenting to things, because they couldn't not. they don't have the option to like physically overpower someone. They're like,
Exactly,
what moral and ethical framework can I devise so that I can convince people to do what I want because I won't be able to beat them up?
Very Nietzsche genealogy of morals.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's the
genealogy of the.
It's what is it? Is it underman supremacy or something?
Yeah, the underman.
Untermensch supremacy.
That's what Hitler called the Jews, the Untermensch.
Yeah. Anarchists are all spiritual Jews. Or what?
yeah. Just a bunch of loser Jews.
I'm gonna use that.
Spiritual Jews.
Yeah, they're all Walter fucking Block. Like,
no, we're not getting started on Walter Block. No. I'm not doing that one. when we take over an outlaw libertarianism, we're going to keep him around as a court jester of libertarianism.
That's why it's the Jews are all stand-up comedians.
Yeah. Maybe they could be funny libertarians. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you could see them dancing.
Can you see Ace being funny?
Oof. I listen to Slurp Gang.
He's not a Jewish.
He's not Jewish. He's actually not Jewish. He's spiritually Jewish.
Yeah, but he's still.
He doesn't have the correct genetics to be funny.
Oh, okay. No,
but Block is funny.
That's why they're all so angry. Is they have this like they're not ethnically Jewish, but they're spiritually Jewish, and there's a cognitive dissonance that they experience every day.
They can't get pussy.
They can't release motherfucker by Murray
Isn't
Rothbard.
this basically the trans argument, by the way? I'm spiritually female, and this cognitive dissonance between what I physically am and what I spiritually am.
They're trans.
It's causing me pain.
They're trans Jews.
They're trans Jews. They should get like a nose job and like.
Then they're not anarchists, and they start working out.
Isn't it like? I mean, anarchism is like all of its philosophers are like predominantly Jewish.
Yeah.
There's
a reason, because Nietzsche was right.
Yeah.
Words that never started here.
I remember when
we all get no-knock.
First was reading him how hysterically I was laughing when he was calling the Jews. Like, his main term was, at least the translation that I read was it was equivalent to pathetic, but he just kept using the term over and over again that the Jews were just pathetic, basically individuals that couldn't really rise against the masters, and so they had to trick the masters into believing that they're just evil. But it seems like that is what many of the anarchists, the consensualists, do. Is like they just want to invert everything rather than actually fighting against it or working out getting pussy.
So I got a question for Grant and Jeremy here of Contra Gentiles.
Yes.
You guys talk a lot about Aristotle, talk a lot about Aquinas.
Yeah.
What are you guys' views on Plato? Like, do you have any views on Plato? You never really talk about him, but he's...
Yeah. I find Plato relatively interesting, but I guess why I don't talk about him too much is that I think much of his errors were corrected by Aristotle.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of the parts that I think him and Aristotle share, I just reference Aristotle. And the same way that I think ultimately I discuss more Aquinas is that I think he was a fulfillment of Aristotle as well.
I would agree.
Yeah.
That's my only comment. Is I not to sound too sarcastic, but like, why not just read Aristotle?
Yeah,
you can't, because you don't get Socrates.
Also, there's a style difference. I know that some people like stylistically prefer Plato because he wrote in
I
dialogue.
think Peter Craiff, the Catholic philosopher, said that he way prefers teaching Plato because it's more exciting, but Aristotle is like the correct version of everything.
It's like reading Socrates. Like, I don't know why you would just read Socrates.
You never wrote anything down.
I know, that's what I mean. It's like I don't know.
I know.
He's like a figure. He's important.
I read Plato only so I can read about Socrates. I got the complete works of Plato just so I can read about that guy. That's like the only reason I started reading Plato, because the Symposium is like I think the Symposium is probably
Symposium is my favorite of Plato's.
Same, it's incredible. I think I've read it like 5 times now. I love it.
My favorite is the Euphrofro, only because, despite being really short, I was almost crying just by laughing, because the end is this guy has a court judgment because he's accusing his father of killing someone, and Socrates has taken up so much fucking time arguing about the soundness of his decision that the dude's like, okay, man, I've got to fucking go. Like, I have a decision to attend. I can't stay here. I was like, no, wait, come back. I haven't finished.
Yes, yeah.
I think Socrates is on his way to his trial too, but he doesn't give a shit. He's just there arguing in front of a courthouse or whatever.
Yeah,
it is a really funny mental image.
Yeah, I think the text of Plato that I do reference quite a bit is really the Symposium more than the other ones, because I don't think Aristotle, at least none of his writings that were kept, that weren't destroyed, really touches upon beauty much at all.
Yeah.
Even Aquinas doesn't really touch much upon beauty, and so I normally am reliant on Plato for that, because it's a really, really good text. I think it's one of the more interesting ones, one of the more interesting written ones as well. And but yeah, that's why my former Twitter handle was Scalia Amoris, the Ladder of Love, which is taken from Plato's Symposium.
Rest in peace, Pound Me Too.
Yes, I know. Yes, yeah. Now it's my other famous Greek Diogenes, and so
way down the blaze.
Dr. Diogenes, your fat baby profile picture.
Probably what Diogenes looked like.
You should just put that baby's face in like a barrel.
Sometimes I wonder how much of him is legend and how much of him is actually true.
Yeah,
like
there's no way to know.
I know there isn't.
Take it all as true.
I believe all of it. All of the funny ones are true.
Because apparently him and Alexander the Great died the same day. Yeah, just weird things like that. Like they both were like two parts of the same coin in that they both were the symbol of like autonomy.
Yeah.
But one of them was a symbol of autonomy because he could get anything he wants, and the other one is because there was nothing that you could give him.
Yeah.
And so like the way that they exist almost seems fabricated.
Yeah.
Like there is this other side of power that he was the one person that Alexander couldn't control. And there's like the famous quote of Alexander where he says, if I could not be me, I would want to be Diogenes. It's because he's the only other person in that kingdom that had just as much power as Alexander. That's precisely because there's nothing that, like, there's another quote. I don't know if it's true or not, but other quote of Diogenes where somebody said, if I could convince you to give you food, would you take it? And he said, if I could convince you of anything, I would convince you to hang yourself.
Jeremy really has a lot of Diogenes.
No, but history kind of has these ironies. I don't know if they die on the same day, but for example, the two most famous Stoic philosophers are Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus.
Yes,
and Epictetus was a Greek slave for like 20 years of his life before he was freed by one of his masters. And I believe he had his leg broken because there was an order he didn't want to do. And he's like, okay, you can break my leg. I'm not going to do it. And then his leg they did break his leg. And then they sold him and he found a better master who actually educated him. But like, he was like, yeah, you can do whatever you want to me. I just decided like, whatever. So he calls his students whenever they ask him a stupid question, slaves, because they have the mindset of slaves if they can't think through this themselves. It's hilarious. The Enchiridion, he just keeps calling them slaves every time they have a stupid question.
I think. Well, we've gone for
earliest being the Roman emperor. If anyone in the audience, one of the 5 good emperors.
We've gone for 2 hours and 16 minutes. Anything else y'all want to talk about or finish up on before we wrap this up?
I'm good.
I'm ready to wrap.
My bladder is beyond full. So we can end whenever you'd like.
Or Caleb, you could make it go longer. Just make him wait a little bit more.
Just so you know, like if you're going to be drinking before a podcast, alcohol is a diuretic. It makes you.
Oh no, I'm very aware. Very aware.
I got just as Wendy left. I'm good to go. This is out.
I had a bunch of coffee before I got here, so this is just I'm not doing
myself. What time is it in the? Is it a?
We started at
4:52 p.m.
Yeah, now it's 4:52.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, it's a 9:50 here.
Yep. Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Yeah.
No problem. It's been a lot of fun.
It was.
Anytime. Let's do plugs. Andrew, where can people find you at?
At Popular Liberty _ on Twitter, and you can find me at Politically Catholic on YouTube.
Bokov, what are your plugs?
I'm at available username or Bolokov's Behemoth. I'm writing something for Austro Thomism. I think I've already written 2 articles there. If the site is working, you can find it.
It is.
Currently unaware of its technical issues right now, but yeah, that's about it. I'm just on Twitter, and occasionally I'll write something for Austro Thomism. Working on a book review right now.
Awesome. Grant, Jeremy, where can people find you at?
So if you search Contra Gentiles on anywhere you listen to podcasts, you'll find the show. It's on YouTube as well. We did just start a Patreon, which I'll be linking from now on under the show in the show descriptions, and also at Contra_Gentiles on Twitter.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, thank you everybody for coming on. It's been a lot of fun. We got Nothing in the Works coming up next. Go follow us on Twitter at Austro Thomism, and online website is austrothomism.com. So read the articles. I got a great article up on why divorce would be illegal. So definitely check that one out.
Good. Really good argument.
It's really very unbeatable. It is an unbeatable argument. You can't prove it wrong. I challenged Ace to prove it wrong. He never responded because he just can't prove it wrong.
Is it divorce is fake and gay?
It's divorce isn't real. Mark 16:8, and then divorce led to Rousseau, and Rousseau sucks. Therefore, divorce is wrong. That's the entire article. That's the article. That is the entire article.
That's beautiful.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you later.
See you guys.
Take care.
Good night.